Yo, and we're live.
That was a beautiful start. I'm not gonna lie. I think the audience enjoyed that.
You think so? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I forgot I pressed live and then we're just live, So I guess no intro. Yo, welcome back, guys.
That was a beautiful intro, honestly.
Yeah, that is the intro.
I appreciate
from now on,
that.
I want you to repeat that each time.
Exactly. I want to see it verbatim.
Yeah, write it down.
Right? Hold on. Let me grab my pen. Hold on. Let me just right here, and then I'm gonna write that down for next time. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the Sing Zone podcast. I am your host, Zone FanFic, here with another Sing Zone podcast. Why was it so damn hot, guys? Like, why am I hot right now? All these lights. Because I don't have my filter on. I have to mask things.
And it's getting close to that
change things around. I'm not gonna worry about it. Today we have a special guest, Kamoy.
What's up?
It is, and I'm not even noticing. What's going on, Kamoy?
Not too much. We have like 5 different conversations going.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, let's first address that heat of yours before we get into it.
I think that's the most important thing. I think that is my heart of hearts. I think that is the most important. That way I don't die on the podcast.
No.
Welcome back, guys.
We try to minimize the number of deaths on this podcast.
Yeah, honestly, if
you
have to put a fan on, I endorse that message.
Right?
There is one, but it's like way over there, guys. Like I need a bigger one. We're here to talk about some Boruto. Chapter 8 dropped this week. And I have some thoughts about it. We thought it might be a good idea to go ahead and bring Kamoy on as our special guest. It's been a while since we've had.
Yeah, I feel like it's been like
you on the podcast. What's going on, man? What's up?
Yeah, it is. Honestly, I don't know how long ago it
at
was
least, right?
Last time. I think it was over a year ago. But I don't know.
It was. I think it was.
It's a very long time.
I think it was just us two. I don't remember. I think it was just us two that time. I don't think you had, unless other people were there, but I don't think.
Yeah. So Breezy and Sai have been supporting us for a while, and they have, of course, Breezy has been working with us for some time. Sai Sensei has just joined us in the last few months, but yeah, we're having fun. We're having fun just talking about anime. Talking about Boruto from time to time, and I feel like I can't even remember what we talked about last time. Do you recall what we talked about last time?
In particular, no. I remember. I'm pretty sure I was on for at least a few hours, which is kind of the norm for me. Let's be real at this point. But
was this the podcast you guys used to speak in, or was this
we shoot? What was it like?
Well, I don't. The problem is, I don't.
What was it? Chapter 75 we talked about?
Yeah. Like I don't know. It was. It could have been around that time. Like
I think it was around like.
It was, but
yeah. Yeah. No, I'm thinking because chapter 75 did come out like around toward the end of like 22 or something.
I think it was December 2022 was chapter 75 was either November or December of 2022. It was one of the two. And then I think I'm going off memory. It might have, I think it was November because I remember doing some videos on chapter 75 in December. That's when I first started getting thumbnails done by Space Tiger. So I think it was November was when that chapter came out. So that's like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, your memory is better than mine. I'm not when it pertains to that. I'm not even gonna lie, because so much has happened for me. I moved, changed jobs. A lot has happened, really. Life has happened, and it's good to see old friends from time to time. You know what I mean? Are you officially on?
Where you forget. What?
I couldn't agree more. Are you officially on the Cloud podcast with Meek and them, and or Meek's not on the podcast, right? He's just like
No,
I guess
I'm not
sometimes on.
officially on the cloud. There was a time where it was up in the air when Free Game and Mello were kind of having their drama, but they ended up just settling it, and Udi and I and Trippy started our own. It was like at the same time I was planning on doing one with them, but that was also tentatively gonna maybe be on the cloud. But they ended up just sticking. They worked through their, at least I think they worked through their shit, and then Udi, Trippy, and I just started our own thing, which in some way, I mean, honestly, we need to change our name. We were talking about it because we streamed for a long time. We're all just super hyperactive knuckleheads. So we're thinking about changing the name to the #1 hyperactive knucklehead podcast because, like, honestly, that just fits us better.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it has a ring.
That's kind of like a direct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was like, honestly, it was like we were low key regretting. It's like, honestly,
That's
we should have just called. We're debating on just changing the name at this point because.
Just throw in a Dukemius Rex in there, and then you should be good.
you guys were you guys decided to come up with a walkie-talkie podcast name because you guys walkie-talkie, is that correct?
Yeah, that was the idea because like we had this joking half serious half joke idea about doing like I didn't have to go back and look at our like earliest DMs, but we were like talking about like having a podcast where like the point is we're never at home, we're just out walking or doing whatever while being live. Unfortunately, it hasn't so far, at least, hasn't really panned out to all that. I'm really the only one who's consistently walking around the whole time because somebody has to stream at that. Like, there's a way for us to do it. It's just we haven't fully figured it out.
I see. It's like a spontaneous thing. I really, really, really like that idea though. Like as you brought it together, like in physical terms, not just the verbal name of itself. I like that idea, but damn, it's unfortunate it's not. But I mean,
yeah, I ended up investing in like some expensive wireless. Like I'm actually using it right now. Because I'm actually walking around as we speak. Because I gotta say, it is so much more convenient to not be tied down to the chair for long pod, especially if you're doing. I don't know how long you guys usually stream, but I am oftentimes streaming for half time, 6 hours. Half the time we've done as much as a 13.5-hour stream before, and let me tell you, if you're sitting in one place the whole time,
that's
sucks.
impossible.
And like it's very convenient, especially because I eat 4 or 5 meals a day because I'm into lifting and bodybuilding and stuff. And I'm like, my God, man, with these 6-hour streams, if I could not just cook a meal in the middle of the podcast, that would just suck. It's so like it is very handy to be able to just do this. And I was using my AirPods for a while, but then I decided to get a better mic because I was like, honestly, AirPods suck. Like I was listening back, I was like, oh my God, I hate listening to this.
I mean, that's streaming for 13 hours.
That sounds really
straight.
efficient. Like you guys found a way to like get it. That's what 13 hours straight is ridiculous. I'm not even gonna cap. That's ridiculous. Even 6 hours for me. After I'm old. Like after we get after 3 hours, like bro, I'm done. I'm gonna go to sleep. Bro.
I don't know.
Real talk.
It's like, I mean, Heartless again. Like I don't. Udi and I have no. It's just crazy because time and time again, we're only gonna do 3 hours today. We're only gonna do 4 hours, and then we get to that point, and we haven't even gone through our intro topics. We derail like crazy. But I'm like, bro, the time just goes by. I don't know how the hell we do it. The 13.5-hour stream was a bit long, to say the least.
I'll be honest though, those are the best kinds of streams though, like because they're the most genuine, because it's not like those are the easiest ones to tune into because everyone is it's almost like you're part of the conversation, so those are the best ones, so
yeah. I feel like even though we're technically a podcast, other than realistically the most podcast we did was when we interviewed Obito's voice actor. Outside of that, most of them are just us like yapping for 6 hours, and we bring someone on to yap with.
Yapathon.
But I stream too much at this point, but it is what it is. But anyway.
Shoot, my mic's muted. How do you manage to like balance like live streaming and making videos? Like, what's your day to day like? Do you have any? I mean, I'm sure you have like off time, but for me, let's say I go to school or I go to work, right? I have some time I dedicate for like, you know, personal life, you know, grow, whatever, right? Then I have study time, which is school, but then I have just random fluff time, so I can just do whatever, right? But that whatever time is like beneficial for me because that's like my meditation time, right? And then of course, reading anime, watching anime. So are you like Boruto specific, or is there any other anime that you've been into as of lately, or like what is your how do you typically manage all that?
Well, if you ask me how I manage it, well, I don't manage it. But if you ask me what do I do, that's a different question. I would not say I've managed my time wisely. Half the time, I mean, I'm a very much a night person, and I work evenings. So like, I don't have any problem staying up late, and so half the time, like progressively begin in a rabbit hole. Like the other day, we started our stream at 2 a.m. It was like, and then what ends up just happening is a lot of times I like to get 9 hours of sleep if I can, but especially whenever we stream, it never works out that way. We always end up being up 3 hours later than planned, so I just sleep less. What ends up happening. But as far as anime go, no, I'm not just Boruto now, because in the last year-ish, year and a half-ish, I have actually started some other shows. So I'm not like, I haven't watched that many, objectively speaking. I've only seen like 6. I watched Naruto, Boruto, JJK, Hunter x Hunter, Attack on Titan, and Death Note. That's all I've seen so far. I have to decide on what my next show will be. Eventually I'll decide that. But
I remember a long time ago, when we were talking in the cloud, you were asking me what should you start between, I think, well, you said you started Death Note now, between Death Note and then another one that you were asking me about was Full Metal Alchemist. Did you ever get around to starting that one?
I haven't. So yeah, right now that's potentially what my next one will be.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm kind of debating between, because a lot of times what happens is when I start, especially if I actually get hooked on a show, I can't stop watching it and I don't get anything done. So I'm like, all right, I'm like waiting it out as long as I can before I start anything. But
I'm the same way, bro. I am the same way. I feel you. I have a long ass list of so many animes I need to watch, but I haven't even touched yet because I know the moment I watch like 20 minutes of the first episode, I'm like, the next day I'm gonna be like in season 3, episode 37.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Like, so,
under my covers.
What I want is a show that hooks me in, but I gotta like time it up wisely. So right now, because I'm still reading the JJK manga and it may or may not end. There's like the rumor that it's gonna end this year. I might just wait that out, just so that way, like I'm done with JJK stuff. On one of my other channels, the group channel, I do some JJK videos there, which we'll keep doing eventually anyway. But just while it's ongoing, I'm just kind of like,
are you talking about like? Are those on your primary channel, or they can be found somewhere else?
I have another channel called Peak Fiction that I do with Barbie, Mellow, Meek, and Rain, who helps edit. And
I did not know you were on that
JJK
channel.
videos are going.
That's cool.
Because based off what people have told me, I'm a little bit skeptical about doing JJK videos on my channel, just because I don't have enough of them in mind. Like I could make like a decent amount, but compared to Naruto and Boruto, it would just be such a small percent that I'm not sure. It's almost like, for example, for like Attack on Titan or Death Note, there's just a small handful of videos I would have in mind to do. And it's small enough that I don't really care if it does bad view-wise. But for JJK, it would be more than that. So if the views aren't good, it's almost like more so. So it's like, it needs to be like the right number. And I'm like, I don't think I have enough to make it a big thing on the channel.
Gotcha. Are you all caught up?
Okay,
on,
that's fair. That makes sense.
Stuff that's been happening in
I didn't mean to cut
like
you
the
off.
JJK manga.
Yeah, I've been for the last couple of months. I've been just popping the chapters every time they come out. Which this latest chapter, I don't know if you guys are all caught up, but I was like, whoa, bro, I kind of like
man.
it.
Bro, I was stunned. I
Are
was
you guys
stunned.
all caught up?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, my boy Miguel came in.
Miguel!
It's like, what?
Miguel! My
Like,
boy.
there's certain things I predicted, like Kusakabe being like actually strong. Like that's actually something I've been thinking for a while. I was like, dude, I know this guy's stronger than he lets on. But like
Right.
Miguel showed up. No, I did not have that on my mind at all.
Not on my bingo card. Not at all. But it's lit, bro. I love to see more action from him because I feel like he did not get enough shine. Because Gojo, anybody that Gojo fights, it's just like it's not fair, bro. It's not fair. It's like it's usually one-sided. You don't get to see the true essence of that said character, and that's why, for example, Hanami, why we got that fight earlier on in the series where they went out. So, but I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
the other
like-
thing is, like, I like Gato and his crew, and in particular, the two people that I was just like, especially one of them, his name's LaRue. I don't even know if you remember who that is, but he's the big jacked guy.
Yes, with the mustache, right?
So,
I think he had a
he's
mustache.
like, the guy who just went, oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, okay, him and Miguel seemed like they were clearly like the strongest two of the group. Now, Miguel almost seems like I wasn't sure if he was really part of Gato's crew or if he was just hired for the one mission or not. But those two, beyond the fact that they were both just jacked, were like, they just felt like clearly the strongest two. And LaRue is the only one who literally hasn't done anything. We haven't seen him do anything actually on screen. Because in the night parade of 100 Demons, we don't see what he does. We see what Mimiko and Nanako and stuff do. We don't see what LaRue does. And then in Shibuya, Yuki name drops LaRue as being one of her allies that's helping him out. But we never see him do anything. I'm like, all right, so if Miguel's back, I'm almost wondering, like, is LaRue going to actually do something? Has it not been all for nothing for me? Like, I've been holding out hope that he'll do something. So if my boy tag teams with Miguel, I ain't got a problem with it.
Yeah, I don't know, because so far the way it's been going is just like everybody's been getting packed in that. Like ever since Gojo got dropped, like just back-to-back L's for everybody. Like even when Maki showed up, like I immediately got like flashbacks from the Gojo versus Toji Zenin fight when Toji snuck Gojo, and then I seen like Maki stab Sukuna in the back. I was like, oh no, I see where I seen this before, and I already know where this is gonna go.
Yeah, you already know what's gonna happen. Maki's gonna start off winning, and then there's gonna be an enlightenment for Sukuna where he wins in the end.
Exactly.
That's basically what happened, except in Sukuna's case, he didn't really level up. He just tried harder, but still.
Right. Crazy.
So
I mean, like, if we're going through the people, like, I mean, like, we've already gone through Kashimo, Higuruma, Yuta, kind of Yuji, kind of Choso. Ino's not going to do anything. Kusakabe's out. Maki's seemingly out. They never really gave closure on that one. Right. It's like, bro,
I don't know if I'm the only one.
What's up?
I don't know if I'm the only one experiencing lag, but I figure this might be a pivotal moment or a good time to go ahead and oh, that's so weird. Go ahead and segue into Boruto's chapter 8.
You know what just happened?
Before we get into too many spoilers,
every podcast I do. We derail for the first hour.
Absolutely.
There's so much to talk about with JJK. I'm sorry. I was about to hop in on that conversation too.
No, very easy. I 100% understand it. I already knew it. I knew it. I like this is territory. We're in lost territory right now. We gotta come back. We gotta reel it back. But chapter 8 of Boruto Two Blue Vortex. How are you feeling about this whole Boruto Two Blue Vortex? How do you feel about the name, first of all?
Honestly, okay, so I hate the fact that they made it a different series and it wasn't just Boruto chapter 81 after the 3-month break. Truly hate it because, well, I wasn't a big, I don't want to get into an hour-long tape. I made an hour-and-a-half video on this topic, so I'm not going to say everything, but I was not a fan of the ending of part 1. But even more so when they have a new series, Now there is numerous plot threads that just in the Boruto Naruto Next Generation series were never addressed. We're really technically in a new, even though it's also just weird because it's a new series. Like it's a
that's what I was okay. I'm glad you're mentioning this.
But it's also like not like it's not the same as Naruto to Boruto where it's a different series and it's just clearly a different series. Like this one is a different series, but it's clearly just it just started in the I don't know how to explain it, but it's not a different series. Like it's clearly meant to be the same series, but it's in a different manga and it's just bad. I don't like it.
Right. So I think that this is something that is important for reviewers, theorists, just enthusiasts in general to really like understand like what is going on, right? How we have basically a monthly manga kind of taking leaps in different parts and of course I don't know like what the storyboarding process is like in this entire with Kishimoto and his assistants, but when it pertains to like Boruto, I think that it's something's a little different. I'm not gonna say it's good or bad at the moment, but I definitely think it's interesting that Boruto is now seemingly stronger. At least they're trying to make it seem like he's stronger than Kawaki at this point in time. And there's something we'll get into at some point, but there it seems like at the moment, Boruto, his techniques is more suited for evasive maneuvers and such, right? And I thought this, I predicted this years ago actually, where after the time skip, I didn't exactly predict that Sasuke would be the one to train him. I thought he was going to die before the time skip, as many other. I definitely thought that person that was going to train him would be Kashin Koji, which I did predict. I just thought that it'd be basically Sasuke's death would be an entrance us going into the time skip, but that didn't happen as I expected.
That's how I expected it to, because like I said, the ending of part 1 is basically just incomplete from briefly speaking, from a screenwriting or a narrative perspective in terms of plot beats and plot points and all that stuff. The arc is unfinished. It's not a complete arc. And I always thought that Sasuke's whatever they're going to do to take him out of the story, death, turn into a tree, whatever, should have been at the end of part 1. And then like you, I thought Kashin Koji was going to turn him over the time skip rather than this happening during the time skip. It just would have been a better ending, I think. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, to Sasuke's character. I mean, unless for some way they make it to where Sasuke's I guess his gen side or his persona kind of overwhelms the actual ego clone, right? And Sasuke is able to kind of reincarnate through that clone, right? Not that he's dead, but he is in a place of he's like in purgatory, right? And it's weird because that they didn't exactly explain that, but based off of my Naruto experience, I felt like it's weird that I have to recall back to my Naruto experience to really understand Boruto, and I think that's something that the writer really has to do. Kishimoto really has to do better at as far as explaining more things. We're definitely jumping all over the place when it pertains to like Boruto and its time places, because at this point in time now what we have to do is go back to Sasuke and Boruto's development. We did go back to them briefly, but we have to, I think, conclude Sasuke's character to really kind of like, okay, side note, I don't think that Sasuke and Naruto should be coming back to the Boruto's timeline. I'm going to be probably the only one that believes this. I think it'll be beneficial for not only Boruto but Kawaki and a new cast to really shine, because at the moment attention's still being, it's all like Sasuke, and I don't know if it's for marketing purposes or whatever, but that Hidari, whenever they hear Hidari, now you have to mention Sasuke, and I'm sure that's probably to give Sarada some character development, but I feel like it could have been a way better way. Just to kind of like come full circle with that, when it pertains to like Kawaki and Boruto's character development, I sort of predicted that their character development would be, because initially I think Kawaki was stronger on his yang side, right? He had a stronger yang affinity, and so I think that stronger yin affinity, while Boruto had a stronger yang affinity. I think that post time skip would have been beneficial is if they had switched that, right? So basically, this for Kawaki, he would have to train in yin, right, or have certain instances and interactions that would kind of challenge and help develop his yin side, right? Since prior his yang side was more, I think, was more developed, and the opposite when it pertains to Boruto and his yin side, he would have to develop his yang side to really kind of understand, to really counterbalance his self and be able to be developed. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I know I threw a lot out there.
I mean, so I would agree that in part one, mentally, I mean, obviously this doesn't say Kawaki's stupid or something, but like I think Boruto possessed greater skill and just mental fortitude over Kawaki, whereas Kawaki's body was honed like via Jigen to a very ridiculous extreme on top of him having ninja tech. So it's kind of like Naruto versus Sasuke, where Naruto realistically had the better physicals in part one, whereas Sasuke mentally was better. In part two, Sasuke improved his physicals to a ridiculous extent with Orochimaru's training help, whereas Naruto had to work on the basics. Now, a lot of people like to give Naruto and Jiraiya flack from not learning anything, but realistically speaking, he did teach Naruto fundamentals that if Naruto didn't do, he would have sucked. So everyone likes to hate on Jiraiya, right, but everything was necessary. Naruto, realistically speaking, his body was already ridiculous, but he was so far behind in a lot of fundamentals, especially mentally, that he had to start at zero. Now, obviously, in Kawaki's case, I don't think, well, to some extent, he kind of was at zero because he didn't know how to do any ninjutsu at all. That's Naruto just started training him that in the middle part one. But so for Boruto, anyway, it makes sense. He would train his body in, I mean, frankly, his physical strength has improved to a ridiculous extent. So it seems like he's kind of done that. For Kawaki, though, while what he would need to do would be to work on the mental side of things and learning ninjutsu, the fundamental concepts behind it, I do also think, though, Kawaki's character wouldn't do that. He's the type of person who would focus on Otsutsuki power, the physicals only, because you see that in chapter 58. He just wants to do life or death brawling training.
Right.
So I don't think I would expect, like, what he should do is not what I expect him to do. So that would play into why Boruto is so much stronger than Kawaki now, although there's got to be more to it than just Boruto got stronger. Like, Boruto got astronomically stronger to some ridiculous ass extent that they do need to explain at some point.
Right. I was just about to bring that part up. Like, that's one thing that I don't like going from Boruto Part 1 to Boruto TBV. I don't like just the way that he's just stronger, so much stronger in his base form without like any explanation. Because they didn't really, the way like the karma seal was explained, like I understand that he has karma, but while it was downloading the while the otsutsufication process was taking place, like he was still fighting on par with like Mitsuki and Sarada. Like it wasn't like to the extent where like you could clearly see Boruto and Kawaki and their base forms were that much stronger than the other two without them actually activating and accessing the karma. But it seems like that otsutsufication process has actually strengthened his body in some way. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for him to be that much stronger just through sheer training alone without accessing the karma in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. Like he literally one-shotted Code without even accessing karma. So that's just
I think
I hope they
think
go into like a little bit more, explanation into like how he got so much stronger during the time.
Yeah, because I've said this before that to me it feels like Boruto is in karma, V2 full karma
Right.
while in his base. That's the feeling I
Exactly.
get from him, which doesn't make sense. But to be
Exactly.
fair,
I think it's a relatively and
sorry, continue.
sorry, am I cutting anyone off?
No, you're good. You're good.
You're good.
No,
Go
my
ahead.
bad. I'm the one lagging, so if I cut anyone off, that's totally my bad.
Okay.
Basically, I think this this explanation is actually probably the easiest to accept for me, right? Because so for Kawaki, right, we didn't really see him go through a similar process as Boruto. We know he died, and he basically, that last 18% was like a mixture of his DNA and Momoshiki's DNA. It was corrupted, which caused Momoshiki to not be able to finish this process. But he was before then, he was like 82%, right? 80 something percent along the way of full ossification. And so I'm assuming that's why Boruto keeps that appearance. Now we only have one other instance, right? The other instance is Kawaki, which we don't know if that's completely tailored by Amato or not. There is speculation based off of what Amato said that he just needed to wish for it, right? So we don't know if this is an ability that Kawaki specifically had, right? As opposed to Boruto because of his eye, right? And so I don't exactly know. I feel like there's still a lot that is not covered, but the wrong parts. So the right parts aren't being covered as much. It's more just a lot of lore and a lot of fluff that is really trying to really pique the entrance of a newer audience, I think. But when it pertains to, like, in this ossification process, I definitely think that for Boruto, his ability to fly, like there are characteristics, same with Kawaki, that probably will, if not already, are becoming more apparent to us, right? Like the ability to fly, like the additional strength, right? Like you saw Kawaki kick Hidari. Like, I mean, he's a 10 tails. You're kicking a 10 tails. I mean, that's kind of weird, a little bit. Just a little bit. But yeah, he should have like grabbed Kawaki and like threw him in the corner or something. I would have expected that. Because the Tintails, these aren't just regular Tintail clones. They have possibly Ishiki's DNA and definitely Code's DNA, right? With the claw markings and that space type of whatever it is. I think it's did they say it was a Shinjutsu? The claw marks
are Shinjutsu, yeah.
Right. So they've got Shinjutsu on them, right? So it's just a little interesting that these claw grimes, their strength is. I definitely like the way that they were created.
So I
feel like it was probably one of the best things that was done in the series, but I'm just gonna finish this real quick. I'm definitely looking forward to like how they'll counterbalance someone like someone like Boruto or Kashin Koji, because I think that there's a correlation between the clones and Kashin Koji, which I'll probably speak about at a later time. Go ahead.
So yeah, in terms of Boruto and his strength, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So we got that little preview with him and during the time skip with him and Sasuke, in which Sasuke stated that he taught Boruto everything that he knew, or most of everything. So there's that. We all knew prior to this that Boruto was, you know, projected growing up to be the next genius, you know, after his grandfather. So there's that. So he picks up after everything, you know. There's that. There's also the fact that both him and Kawaki, they're both approximately 80% Otsutsuki. I mean, not that Kawaki has anything to do with that, but yeah, he's about 82% Otsutsuki. So that his body, his physical makeup, that, you know, adds to his natural strength. So there's that. And then with the 2 years left after, you know, he spent training with Kashin Koji, I'm sure. And this goes back to just the basics between Boruto and Kawaki. They're supposed to complement, or not complement, but like they're supposed to be the opposites of Naruto and Sasuke. Like we're going into the time skip, like think of Naruto as Shippuden, but like Sasuke is the main character and Sasuke is the good guy. So that's pretty much what's happening here. So we have an extreme, but thinking we're moving on to the power scales of that, of, you know, this world, the Boruto universe, because, you know, the power scaling is crazy at this point. You know, everyone, the bad guys, everyone's, you know, already at this level. So these guys need to be at least at this level to, you know. So I think with all of that into consideration, to me, it's not surprising that Boruto is this strong, and, you know, he has room to be stronger. And I think the key is for him to not show too much strength. And this is, you know, going to the one of our outliers, you know, into the future. You know, when I say outliers, I'm talking about like things in Two Blue Vortex that hasn't been mentioned so much, but, you know, like for example, Momoshiki, that's an outlier. But yeah, him using too much power, you know, Momoshiki could possibly come out. So that's you know, there's reasons for all of this stuff. But I mean, yeah, I'm going off on a rant, but
glad you brought that up, because when it pertains, like Momoshiki, right? He's been gone. No, I'm totally glad you brought that up, right? Because when it comes to like Momoshiki, he's been gone, like missing in action, right? And a lot of people, I haven't, to be honest, I haven't really paid attention to too many theories, but I'm under the impression that Momoshiki, a lot of he's kind of him and Boruto, they're basically one person, right? So they have to kind of counterbalance. They have to take turns at points in times. And I think this training with Sasuke has allowed Boruto to gain a little bit more control. But I think to gain a little bit more control, but I think there's going to be something that Boruto does not know, right? Now, I think it's inevitable that Momoshiki will come out, and it's essentially like something that Boruto cannot help, right? I think this could be due in part to Boruto's Jogan. Possibly Momoshiki could be I think negating it or dampening it so that he's not able to access certain things. Because I feel like these two are they're become one person. This is a part of the ossification process. One of the other things that I assumed, and this was more of like a joking, like a joke, I think a slice of life type of episode within the Boruto Naruto Next Generations, where you see like Boruto, Naruto, Hinata, Himawari, and Kawaki all at the hot springs, right? They're all at the hot springs, and Kawaki and Boruto, they both see like some ghost. And before that, it was weird because like just a year before that, I predicted that some things that Boruto may be haunted by, and this may also apply to Kawaki as well. We don't exactly know because we don't get to see that inner dialogue of Kawaki. But I definitely think that's a possibility that Boruto may be haunted by yokai. And you know, certain points in times we don't know the full extent of his suffering, other than of course the simple fact that of course he's affected by omnipotence, right? But there I feel like there's still like some nuance that they have not talked about that they may be trying to save for a bigger chapter, but they do not. I think they should not save this for like other chapters. They should all drop all the nuances within one chapter. That would be a big chapter.
I mean, they just got to do it at
because
some
it would help
point.
Provide inner dialogue. It would help provide dialogue that we're missing. At some point, I mean, yeah, I feel like it's been necessary because it would give segue, I think, into like their ability, like, you know, who they are, right? Because at this point in time, right? It seems like Kawaki is trying to protect the village, right? Which I was. This was one of the points where I probably talked about the most. That Kawaki at some point in time, I didn't exactly know how he would get to this point in time. I thought he was going to like try to overthrow it with code or whatever, but then the whole cold betrayal. But I could definitely see at this point in time that where Kawaki may be trying to he may over some years with the of course interactions with Himawari, and then of course the other villagers learned what Naruto was trying to protect. Of course, Naruto was the one individual that, second to probably Boruto, that Kawaki cared about the most. Now, if that is the case, if Kawaki still has that he wants to protect Naruto, then I think that all the other things they come naturally. Like, you know, what that person was actually, you know, what defined that person. And as Hokage Naruto, what defined that person was the people around him, right? So he has to kind of take that and kind of transition his character to a new type of manner. And I think this happens if of course, you know, we have Jira at the village, which is good because since Jira's at the village now, what could happen is, especially if Jira destroys the village, Kawaki could turn this around and say, hey, this was all Boruto's fault, right? You know, and this was the Otsutsuki's fault, and Boruto's an Otsutsuki. So now, you know, band with me, I'm taking over as Hokage or whatever, right? And they would accept him because they see him as Boruto. I think that would be a possibility, that he would have a higher authority amongst not only within Konoha but within the Leaf. I'm sorry, within the Shinobi world, because he is Boruto in their eyes, right? And this whole little, like, I think Shikamaru forgetting, like they're saying that Shikamaru has been forgetting, or it's theorized at least that Shikamaru has been forgetting based off of what Boruto has said. Like, you'll just forget this anyway. So what's the point of me telling you? And I think he said that in the last chapter, right? So if that's the point, I don't see how Kawaki's the only person that is unaffected aside from you know, Sarada and Sumire, and Ada, of course, but you know, and possibly Damon. I feel like it's quite possible. There's something weird going on. I don't know. What are your thoughts about some of the things that I just mentioned? Because I feel like I'm a little all over the place.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I guess let's just start with the Kawaki part because that's what you just got out of. So if they're gonna go, I do think there is potential for what you're saying, but I think what needs to happen first is Kawaki needs to be pushed into a corner, because that's kind of what a big thing in this current arc is right now. Is kind of Boruto making his way back. He's essentially winning over the various pieces of the puzzles that he needs to. So like Mitsuki, Shikamaru, Ada as well, and who knows who else the rest of this arc. Whereas Kawaki is kind of losing his favor with people at the exact same time. So at some point, Kawaki is going to be pushed into that corner where it seems like everything's hopeless. But Boruto is the main character, and Kawaki is kind of like an antagonist right now. So at some point, it's probably going to flip around, because Kawaki can't just lose. He's going to have to make his comeback somehow, because we see them fighting in the future. So he doesn't lose. He's probably not going to lose in 10 chapters.
I do want to speak on that.
It seems like Kawaki.
It seems like everything's hopeless for Kawaki and it's going good for Boruto. But then through Jura's shenanigans, Kawaki's able to flip it around on Boruto. This time it's not an omnipotence lie. It's just like, yo, this is reality. This happened because of whatever. I could see them going that type of route. I'm not exactly sure how they'll approach it, though. But I do think Kawaki needs to be pushed into a corner first.
I will say, to add to that, Kawaki, just like Sasuke, they're going to be, you know, complement each other. And, you know, just like how, you know, the roles of Boruto and Kawaki flip, where Kawaki has everything at this point, he's going to start losing it all by taking desperate measures and means to do what he needs to do for his personal goals. And we're going to start seeing that, whether it be, taking extreme measures to get power and whatnot. And I want to say, I think Breezy, we and him were discussing earlier, and he brought up a point earlier by one of Kawaki's potential means of getting power. You can take it away if you want to talk about that.
Yeah. I was talking to Sai earlier, going off of like the Sasuke mirrors, where Jura and Hidari coming to the village and looking for Naruto. It kind of mirrored in a way when Itachi and Kisame popped up in the village. Yeah, see, looking for
I know where you're
Naruto.
going from here. I already know where you're going from here. Keep going.
Yeah. And just like Itachi, basically he did what he did to Sasuke with the whole, you're weak thing, and basically pushed him to get stronger, gave him that drive to get stronger. Like we see Jura just kind of do Kawaki basically the same way. And going like how you were saying earlier, like it's not really within Kawaki's personality to go the Boruto route, where he's going to try to physically train his body to get stronger. We've seen like you said, I think it was chapter 58, when he was like, I just want to take the fastest method, whatever gets me stronger by any means possible. So I see him going like a sort of route where he either goes to Amato to get stronger.
That's what I want. I want Amato to be the guy, the giving him the temptation again. I don't know what he'll do specifically, but I personally want Amato to tempt Kawaki in some manner, in a way that works with his plans. And that's the route Kawaki goes. That's what I think I want to see, because I like my boy Amato, dude. I want more of his.
I'm 110% on board with that, bro. 110%. I agree, man.
I honestly, I don't know how I feel about that, just because I feel like it would of course create some type of, it'd be obvious, Amato, but I feel like it'd be more beneficial for Kawaki's character if he try to use like his, like what he's learned over the last few years. Like if we could see what he's learned and he went that route, because I feel like if he took a shortcut, it wouldn't really give us insight as to like what actually has happened with him these last few years and how that's defined him, right? How that's changed him, because he's seemingly very like, his interaction with Mitsuki, right? How he has sort of like fuck you, but I gotta accept you type of mentality toward like Mitsuki. I think he feels like Mitsuki may figure out something, and that may be due to the way that his Sage mode is, as I predicted. I feel like his Sage mode may work a little bit like Boruto's Rasengan Uzuhiko, where it takes the planet's rotation or force. I feel like his Sage mode could work in a similar fashion, which it would be a new method and way to kind of fight these Otsutsuki, which is how I feel like that was one of the abilities that was showcased first, right? So we could get a little bit more insight as to like how Mitsuki was able to kind of perfect it, because otherwise we would have to, I think it would be implied that it's just his vessel that had to mature over time, right? Which we have not really seen in any other instance, and he would be the first, right? So that's one thing, right? So I don't know when it pertains to like to character, though. I feel like him protecting the village, right? Like those things would be beneficial. Like what specifically, like in his mind, like what ways did he train? Like did he train with Mitsuki those 3 years, or did he first, was he like in his dimension for the majority of that 3 years, just training next to Naruto, or talking to Naruto,
Yeah, his bro just talking to a brick wall.
Speaking of talking to Naruto, I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is something like I've just been thinking about, because there's two things. You have Kawaki in the very first chapter time skip. He looks significantly different even than now on the time skip. In my opinion, he looks older in that chapter. So what if he, in some period of time, he goes to some type of hyperbolic like time chamber, or in which he goes in his own dimension, the Daikokuten, because isn't it a timeless dimension? He goes in that dimension and trains and works on his mental state, comes back out, a completely different older person. That's the whole reason why he has that whole different aesthetic and get up in the future. I don't know, it's just a thought, because I'm just thinking, I've been trying to think the whole time and explain why does Kawaki look so different. He looks like exactly what he is, delinquent and someone that lacks in the mental portions of what it means to be shinobi and ninja. So that could be one of his training arcs in the future. That could be a potential route, or in addition to what Amato does, or something that Amato suggests or whatever. I don't know.
As a small side note, did anyone else prefer the original flash forward time skip design over the current one? Because I like Kawaki's original one better.
I did. That's why I'm having that. I don't know what's that word. I can't think of the word, but like that false hope, I guess. Like I don't know.
You're coping.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna turn into that design.
Yeah, because that's like the ultimate form of this guy, man.
Bro, I mean, honestly though, it just looked cool. Like I like his current. Like just looking at first of all, his outfit, I just thought looked cooler than. There's nothing wrong with his casual outfit, but at some point, I kind of want to see him change into that outfit, and I just liked his hairstyle better. Like he looked really freaking cool in the flash forward scene, whereas now he kind of just looks greasy.
I think it's supposed to reflect his how he is currently in terms of his skills. So I think, and it makes sense. He looks like a ruffian. Like his skills are as bad as he looks. They're rough on him. He's a ruffian. So, no.
You gotta quote that, bro. His skills are as bad as he looks.
Oh no! I think that the designs are they're interesting. They kind of give like a more retro / greaser type of 90s look, like retro in the 90s, right? I think that whole aesthetic is interesting, but I definitely like the appearance that Kawaki originally had. I think every other character design is good except for Sarda's, which I just want to give her a full shirt. That's all. But aside from that, I think that and well, I don't know, maybe a different hairstyle, because you would expect her hair to grow, right? Especially if she's stressing out, but I don't know. It just didn't seem like it fit in a linear fashion, right? But I don't know. I thought that the old appearance for Kawaki was more it was more like foreign, more sophisticated, I'm fancy, I'm living luxury, and now he just looks like he looks like a punk, like a cyberpunk, right? Not a punk, but it's like cyberpunk type of aesthetic, like a retrofit, which isn't entirely bad. I just don't know if it fits his character. I feel
like it's fine for now, but the other one looks more antagonistic. If I'm just gonna look, I know the outfit doesn't need to be the end all be all. But the flash forward scene outfit just looks more like an enemy than his current one. The current one looks more like the 90s bully, teenage bully. I don't know, you just still don't have the same vibe.
To me, if I just
see retro
running
punks.
up, no, you go.
No, I was just nothing big. It's just, to me, it looks like that 90s, like Kamui was saying, bully meets retro punk style with a touch of an emo style. I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
And I go ahead.
I was gonna say, I will say there are some panels now. Honestly, I like to hate on Ikimoto sometimes. He's very inconsistent, and I can point out a lot of things. But there are some panels with Kawaki's current appearance, where he looks really good. It's very well drawn, and I don't like his hair. It's usually when the wind's blowing. There's one in this latest chapter when he's looking suspiciously, and it looked really cool. But there's other times where I'm just like, I don't know, bro. He just looks like he hasn't showered in 20 days. Not in like a menacing way. He just looks a little bit slimy. I'm just like, I don't know, bro. There's Boruto over here. He's all neat and tidy. I don't know. And Mitsuki, don't even get me started on Mitsuki, bro. I don't know if you guys paid attention to this latest chapter, but Mitsuki's hair was ugly in this chapter. Well, I was like, bro, what are you doing? Don't mess up my boy.
I'm sure in the anime when it comes, it'll definitely look a lot better. But no, I could see that. It just looks like it's a little slimy, you know, like they just put gorilla snot in it and they call it wonderful. They don't even shampoo it, you know. So, but
I feel like this story wise, right? I feel like there's just a little bit more players on the chessboard, right? And Amato has stopped moving, right? You got who else? Orochimaru, where's he at, right? And then of course you've got Boruto and the Ten Tails Code. What is his plan, right? Why hasn't he thought about this, right? Like I've always said that. Yeah, in the Sand Village, or where are the other villages? Like, why are we all centered in Konoha at the moment? Why what is the world thinking at this point in time, right? Like, and why wasn't there an attack on the other villages, like, or was there? What is going on in the world of the shinobi world, right? Like, I feel like there's and these things will be pivotal, and just kind of understanding where our characters will go. But I definitely feel like it's weird. It's weird how Boruto is going like back and forth to the village just with ease, right? They're placing him in, I think, like sort of like a bubble to where he can kind of just roam and do whatever he wants, and that's cool, right? But where is the risk, right? And the risk seems to be these Jubi clones, right? The Shinju, I think they called it, the ego clones or the ego Jubi, right? You guys know what I mean. But
yeah,
what is their main method? Like, how big of a risk are they? Like, why did why did Boruto disappear if they're a threat to the Leaf? Or did Boruto think that the village could take care of these Shinju clones, right? Why did he leave, or did he leave?
He didn't know yet because they weren't on the way yet. To be fair, Boruto,
did he just disappear? And is he just watching the Leaf, right?
No, I think,
right.
Think he knew, yeah.
But he knew when Code would be there, right? Which means that he has insight.
Like, the dude wanted he said he wanted to slug Kawaki, right? Why did he hit the perfect chance? Just do what you did to Mitsuki to Kawaki. Why did he run away?
I think he just has different priorities at this moment, and I think he probably knew that he was going to get slugged by the Ten Tails walking up. So he was like, yeah, I'll let them do their job. So yeah, peace. But I do want to say this. So I do want to say this. There's two things,
and it's weird because.
Dang.
Go ahead.
There's no way you forgot.
No, I didn't forget. I was waiting. I thought, no. Okay, go
for it.
Okay, cool. But it's two things. Two things I've noticed, and this is something that we were discussing when we were reading the chapter live. It was with Delta, and this has really got me thinking. And I was talking with
Bronco
before this too.
Bronco.
Man, yeah.
Bronco was the activation code, but her name's Delta.
But yeah, no, with her,
is that not Bronco? Is that Delta?
Noticed in this chapter, I had to look it up. God damn it! I had to look it up. In the anime and in the manga, before when she used to fly, she had jet propulsion from her. I don't know if it was chakra propulsion or whatever, but in this chapter, if you look, she's not using any of that to fly. So that's indicating that because the overall objective of Kawaki with that false quote unquote karma seal was to place it onto Delta. So seeing that she's flying around casually without using the chakra boost on her feet means that she's using some type, the works of the likes of the karma seal. So my main concern is this. It was stated that the karma itself was used as a weapon, but the DNA itself that's being extracted into Delta, it's supposed to be a human. So if it's a human, that means she shouldn't be getting Otsutsuki's like powers, right? Or are those flight powers coming from the karma itself? Or
I think you.
That's what you get what I'm getting with this, because I'm thinking, this is kind of where the red flag is going off for Amato himself.
So I just want to understand what you're saying. Are you saying that why is she flying without her chakra boots, like with the rocket boots, right?
No.
And you think that's because she has a karma?
I'm saying it's because of the karma, but is it because of the DNA extracted from the karma? Like, is it Otsutsuki DNA? Like, is it that DNA causing her to do it? Or because essentially the DNA is supposed to be a human DNA. The karma is supposed to be a weapon, but it was never stated it can give the user flight abilities.
What do you think is from the karma? You think she has a karma?
I mean, that was the whole purpose of Kawaki to, of getting that karma. The karma has the DNA of Akabi, which is Amato's real daughter, the soul of her daughter. He was supposed to transplant that karma onto Delta.
But okay. But that was okay. But did he transfer a karma, like, or did he just transfer like her? And it's weird because you would assume that's the karma, like a karma was transferred to her. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the only process we know that kind of transfers the soul, right? At least in the modern age of Boruto.
So I'm gonna be honest. I don't think Kawaki. I'm gonna explain this fully, but I don't think Kawaki gave that Delta karma yet for a couple of reasons. First of all, Amato made it seem like in chapter 5 that he hasn't asked Kawaki to do it yet, because whether he's pretending or he's actually affected by omnipotence, he's either pretending or he genuinely didn't realize at first that Kawaki had the reconstructed karma. And I feel like him asking Kawaki to do it now would seem suspicious when nobody else thinks that Kawaki has that karma, because he's supposed to think Boruto has it. So I don't think he even asked him to do it because of that. But beyond that, I think Ikimoto forgot to draw the rocket boots, because in chapter 68, because in chapter 68,
that's what I thought. Yeah,
first awakens, she's just in the air for a couple seconds, and there's no rocket boots then either. Kawaki definitely hadn't given her karma yet by that point. Like, she's just in the air, and then there's other times when she flies over off screen to where Sarada and Sumire and everyone is in chapter 76, and this isn't the best panel because it's literally just her landing. But if you were to compare how she lands with the rocket boots in the past to how she lands with her feet now, it looks like when Ada lands from actual flying. I think Ikimoto either just gave her the general flight ability of Otsutsuki when she was created, or the dude forgot to draw the rocket boots, because she was already doing it before, and it seems implied that she hasn't gone to karma yet for a couple of reasons. So
I would say with Amado though. I would say with Amado though, like, I want to say that I was just gonna say, he blatantly admitted to Sumire that he knew what was up. He knew the truth. On top of that, he can use that to his advantage to trick Kawaki, like, and saying, like, I won't tell everyone the truth if you do what I ask you to. Because if anything, this helps.
What do you mean he admitted to Sumire?
He based on the evidence that's presented to Amado, he knows that Kawaki has the karma seal that has the soul of Akabi. So being that he knows that he just found that out.
I want to point out that he.
Wait, what do you mean you just found that out?
He's always known, because he said he could instantly tell. So the moment he saw Kawaki's karma seal, he knew. My thing though is, I don't think Amato wants to tell Kawaki that, because whether Amato was genuinely affected, whatever, it doesn't really matter. He's got to suspect Kawaki's involved somehow. And Kawaki probably, I feel like Amato would be a little bit scared to bring it up to Kawaki, because he might out himself as like an enemy of Kawaki. That's the way I'm looking at it, especially if the dude is just straight up immune to omnipotence, because then he would give himself away if he actually knows what's going on. So that's partly why I don't think Kawaki did the karma thing yet, because Amato's like trying to figure out. Basically, I think what Amato wants is for the truth to come out before he says anything, so that way he doesn't look suspicious. That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
So I think that I don't know. I feel like at the moment we're kind of reading a little bit too into it, just because it could be spot on, right? It could be another Delta, and he could have transferred to Karma, but I mean, I definitely think it's more of an editorial mistake where he just didn't draw the boots on there.
Yeah, that's what I think, bro. I think you forgot.
I think yeah. There's just it just makes more sense because it's yeah. It just makes more
Ikimoto's made
sense.
some drawing errors before, man. Like I don't trust him. Like,
I mean, I don't know. I think the latter makes sense too. What I was saying earlier, because I mean, it
Yeah,
could be.
I don't know.
Like, we'll just find out next chapter, honestly, when Delta fights, because Delta is going to be the one that will fight, unless Damon, for some whatever reason, steps in finally. We see him go
Did they
semi-
say her name this chapter?
Yeah, no. That's me coping. Anytime I say stuff like that, it's just me hoping and wishing something like that would happen. But it's more than likely going to be Delta and the other companies. Possibly Sarada is Delta's probably gonna take one of them, and then that everyone else is gonna take the other. I guess I don't know. We shall see. But either way, we're gonna see Delta in action.
The thing is with the power scaling. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. What do you guys even think?
Relevant, and then Delta should be weaker than Kawaki realistically. Like unless this I don't think I mean, it was implied that Kawaki was going to be the strongest in the village outside of Ada and Damon before. Like, Amato had already, created Delta by this point. He's telling Ada, I'm the only one who can stop Kawaki in my shutdown code. And that was part 1 Kawaki, mind you. So I can't imagine that Delta's stronger than Kawaki. So she shouldn't do any better against Jura, really. She can help, of course, but she shouldn't be the main player. So if nobody new shows up, it would have to be Himawari, going in lock-on mode and being on demon time. Otherwise, they kind of need either Boruto or Damon to show up. Otherwise, they're just going to get bodied. Unless Jura just leaves.
I think
you're not Naruto. Bye.
It might be a good time to really showcase Damon and maybe give some insight as to what his abilities are, because I mean I feel like I speculated that it's possible that during the process of the creation, right, that of course they receive some of possibly Shibai's DNA or some Otsutsuki's DNA. I'm assuming that Otsutsuki is Shibai, the Otsutsuki who ascended. And if I recall correctly, disregard that. I'm under the impression that all the Ishikis are essentially all of they're all just personas of Shibai, right? And I think I spoke about this a few times, but I think it just seems like that is the case with Momoshiki possibly, not knowing different pieces and parts of certain things. He I want to say in chapter 78, 79 of Naruto Next Generations, basically he said he knew there's certain visions that he had that didn't exactly come true, and he said he knew some things and didn't know some things. It seems like he just lacks a little bit more than he should, as an all-knowing or someone that knows as much as Momoshiki should know, as well as Ishiki's lackluster appearance. I feel like their genetics and ultimately their what are parasitic tendencies that of course that was mentioned that they have parasitic tendencies, that it's possible that they don't really have to care, and there's a main body somewhere that is possibly controlling them through the ethers, right? And I'm assuming this person is Shibai, since they would all be a part of Shibai, and he would be able to do this, of course, because he's ascended to a particular level, and I think some of his motives, this is all, of course, headcanon, that some of his motives could be that he wants to ascend to the Otsutsuki God, which I think all Otsutsuki have that, and our original Otsutsuki, like I think Kaguya, have this innate desire to be a part of the Otsutsuki God, the one that we've seen in the early chapters of Boruto, not Chibai. But yeah, I feel like it's all very interesting. I don't think that these beings can die, but I do think they can be erased, replaced, through an equal type of manner. I like toward the end game. I feel like there may be a sacrifice that, of course, would include, of course, either a sacrifice of Kawaki or a sacrifice of Boruto ascending. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's going to be more of a catalyst, and I've always said that Code is going to be a catalyst. He's been a catalyst to, of course, the Jubi clones, and I feel like this may be an introduction into either the reincarnation of a new Ishiki, right? One who thinks of his own free will, right, as opposed to one that is controlled by Shibai. So of course, I don't know. I feel like this is the only way that this could narratively work out in the end. I don't know. This chapter, all but I think kind of gives insight as to like, okay, these of what's his name, Jura's persona, his mannerisms, they're very Ishiki like, they're very Jigen like, very sophisticated and stuff. So just looking into little things like that, I thought it was very
Speaking of that too,
interesting.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel like the last chapter, when both Hidari and Jura invaded the village, we saw that Hidari's chakra was detected, but not Jura. So that proves, because there was a lot of people speculating that whether Jura was Kawaki, what's his name, Ishiki, et cetera. But if it was Kawaki, then the chakra signature would have picked up. So what I believe Jura is literally a unique entity which combines elements of all of these characters, elements of Kawaki, Ishiki, Code, all into one. Because that's pretty much what that is made up of. If you think about all the things that was absorbed into place to create that particular 10 tails being. So there's that. There's also something else I wanted to mention too, but yeah. What are you guys' thoughts on that? I'll bring it up on another point.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree that Jura he definitely has elements of Code, that he's literally covered in claw marks, has some long eyelashes like him, and then he could have some elements of Kawaki, but Jura cannot be a Kawaki tree in the same manner that Hidari is a Sasuke tree. Like, he's not the same situation, because like you said, his chakra would have registered. Same goes for Suegi and so on. But there could be some Kawaki in there the same way that Code is in there. Like, could be a little bit if they want. That's fine. But I think realistically, I think Ishiki is the main player. Like, he's obviously not literally Ishiki the same way that Hidari is not literally Sasuke, but the Ishiki is probably the most prominent one in my opinion. Now, I don't know if I want Ishiki to return completely, but at the very least, this would be like the bare minimum of an Ishiki return. But I do think ideally they would go further and have Jura just become Ishiki again. That's what I want to see anyway.
That would be very interesting.
You think he'll just make a return like, oh, I'm back? You think that'll happen?
So, I mean, the way I've been, because for a long time, I've thought that Ishiki was tied to the 10 tails in some way or another. Currently, the way I think it is that 10 tails, it basically is Ishiki, the same way that Kaguya was the 10 tails in Naruto. Pretty much the same situation. And that Code was going to end up facilitating Ishiki's return through his shenanigans with the 10 tails. That's a theory I've had for a long time, and I still stand by it. And the reason, just vaguely speaking, I still think Amato is the one who made the Ishiki message to Code. I think that was fake. But
I agree with you on that.
Because Amato would be the reason why Code does what he does. And Amato, without realizing it, would be the one to facilitate Ishiki's return indirectly, which would bite him in the ass because Ishiki never got his revenge on Amato. And I think that would be a good foil for Amato's character, for him to fail because of this oversight he made without knowing. He would essentially sow his own defeat. That
I think
would like.
Amato's biggest miscalculation was easily Kashin Koji, and
I think that would be
you
another
brought
one
that
too.
up
I want
too.
Koji to play into it.
With the message that was sent to Code, that was the biggest thing that was left out, and because of that, that was the key as to why, that's going to be the biggest flaw in Amato's whole entire scheme. Because I would agree because Shikamaru, the statement that Shikamaru made was not made just without whatever he said. For some reason, I believe everything that you are plotting is going according to your scheme. So I think. I don't know. This is just me, a personal theory. This goes back to Delta and, me believing that Delta is an Otsutsuki. I believe Amato and Delta are both the missing Otsutsuki. Like Amato has something to do with breaking it to make to fool the other Otsutsuki into thinking that they're gone. And I think, they're going to use, my bad, I lost my train of thought. But you see where I'm going with this. I think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could get by it depending on how they do it. Because on one hand, like, I really don't mind Amato just being a smart dude who's doing a lot of planning and he's gonna F up somewhere. But if he's going to be an actual Otsutsuki in some manner, it really is gonna bog down to the details of how they write it, which is the only thing that scares me because when it comes to Boruto, there's a lot of things they do well, but when it comes to nitty-gritty details, that's where they always screw things up with inconsistencies or things that just straight up don't make sense, like how Boruto's 100% Otsutsuki when 18% of them is literally Boruto's DNA. As an example, like that doesn't make sense. And or Omnipotence has I gotta make this video at some point. Omnipotence has been one big ass contradiction after another, especially with chapters 6 and 7. And it's like, bro, it's these specific details where they lose it and it turns off people who are paying close attention. And that's what scares me about Amato being an Otsutsuki, because depending on what they do for those specific details, they could either make it amazing or they can make it suck.
100%.
Like, it has potential, but I'm a little bit concerned.
100%.
Well, I mean, I think like with Amato, it would be like pretty obvious, right? Like he's able to. Was it? I want to say it was confirmed that he was able to, or did he say he didn't actually place the karma on Kawaki? Was that the case?
So
vaguely
I'm actually
what,
working on
what
a
was
video
what was said.
doing this exact topic, so I actually don't mind talking about this a little bit. Personally, I don't think Amato chose to make it so that Kawaki needed to wish for karma back. I think that was it wasn't a flaw by choice, but a necessary flaw that Kawaki needed to essentially place karma upon himself, because Kawaki was an Otsutsuki. He could master chakra signature and stuff. He had the ability to do Otsutsuki things. And I think what Amato did was implant Akebi's data into Kawaki, which we already know. And he either just gave him Akebi's data and let Kawaki do the rest, or he compressed everything he needed to compress, like how karma works. You compress your data and plant it into someone else. Amato may have done all the compressing and stuff, and he implanted it, as we know, and then let Kawaki manifest the seal itself. But either way, Amato didn't actually, quote unquote, reconstruct it. I think he just compressed and implanted data and let Kawaki do the Shinjutsu part as he needed to. That's what I think, generally speaking.
You think Amato has come up with a way to manufacture technology so that it basically is able to manipulate data in the form of chakra?
I don't know. This is one of those things that they're probably
essentially.
never going
Do you think
to
he really did that, or do you think like a lot of it is just?
So Amato did some scientific ninja tech jumbo mumbo stuff, because when he was explaining the whole Delta clone scenario, he just said, I managed to preserve a Kebi's brain, digitize the data, extract it, and compress it. And he told Koji he was bringing a digitized data aggregate with him to the village, which we know contained Kebi's data. I don't actually think they're going to explain how he compresses it, besides he's a scientist, he knows what he's doing. But in some manner or another, I think Amato is capable of converting things into data and implanting them into people. The problem is he, at least allegedly, is an Atsuki, so he can't make the actual Shinjutsu of karma itself.
You said he isn't, or he is?
He, at least allegedly, is not an Atsuki. Like, he could be lying, but as far as we know, he's a human, so he can't do Shinjutsu. He can't make karma seals. But what he can do is compress data and inject it into people. But that alone won't manifest a karma seal.
I find it weird, and I've always thought that Mono is going to be like one of those big card players when it pertains to like how things are being manipulated. The majority of things that are on the battlefield are his creations, right? And so when it pertains to like him being the mind behind everything, it's weird, very weird that he was able to kind of talk Ishiki and be in cahoots with Ishiki and Jigen or at least Jigen, right? And him not just automatically be killed, right? It's a little weird that a lot of things are extremely strange. Just he's able to transfer certain karmas is a lot that is speculated that he can be that he can do. He's showing he's helping Kawaki basically get his karma back, but he knows like all these things like about Shibai and how to create Ada and Damon, who are at this point it's speculated that they have karmas, or they have, I believe that they'd have Shibai's DNA, which seems more.
I mean, they have Shibai's DNA.
Practical.
That's literally there.
Oh, and if they did have Shibai's DNA, right. But I guess by DNA I mean like the karma, right?
We don't know if they see. So, sorry to cut you off. They do weirdly hide Ada's left hand as well as Damon under his shirt, over and over and over again, to the point that like I just like it feels like they need to have a karma just for that reason alone. But
I was telling you, Zone.
Their hands, I wouldn't assume it. I would just, because all Amato said is he transplanted their DNA. We've seen very similar things with Hashirama cells and what that can do. So that alone would just work. But the way they hide their hands is just sus as hell to me. That makes me think, okay, they might have a karma of some sort because of that.
Yeah, it's weird because it's not just their. I don't think it's just their DNA that's being like transferred. It's a complete like revamping of their molecular structure, right? That is occurring whenever a karma is being their molecular structure is being altered, right? And so what pertains to like their karma, like can one Otsutsuki have two vessels at the exact same time that can manifest at the exact same time, right? Unless this would only make sense if they were just personas being controlled by one person. That's it. I don't think we've seen like Momoshiki. Like, why did he only choose Boruto, right? Unless did he choose anyone else? It seems a little off, and for Himawari, right? It just seems a little weird that she's this huge threat, right? A lot of people speculated she has 10 tails, she has Biju chakra, right? But do all Otsutsukis have Biju chakra, right? I think that's something that I don't think has been completely taught.
I think
talked about or fleshed out within the series, because if that's the case, that it's quite possible that she does have a reincarnate of, and this would make sense, of Kaguya within her
I think that answer is simple. It's mainly
like
because
that would have to be explained. Like, how is
my
that
bad.
even possible, right? For Onotsuki to just manifest that, they would have to had to touch Naruto first, or and even it. Let me not even say touch, because Momoshiki, like, did he touch Boruto? Or was he able to kind of just like embed the karma? Like, what was the exact moment that Boruto's karma was embedded? Was it during the fight, and then he was able to kind of communicate after his death via like his inner mind, because he had already embedded the karma during the fight? Like, what specifically is, and where are the points? I feel like these points aren't really, they're being hidden for an important chapter or chapters down the line, which I don't entirely agree with. I feel like it should be more transparent, especially as a younger audience. I mean, yeah,
I don't think
that is gravitated toward.
Go back and explain why or how Momoshiki transplanted karma to Boruto. I think they're just gonna leave it at that, how it happened.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. Like, I think it, like, okay, so going back to Boruto and Himawari, I think they're like, were you like asking like why was Momoshiki seeking out Boruto actively seeking Boruto, and why does Himawari possess the hidden power she's has? Because I think it's like that answer is based on, you know, Naruto and Sakura. I mean, Naruto and Hinata. They both have Hamura and Hagoromo's power. You know,
chakra.
so you're mixing them two up with those two together. You know, that's literally, you know, you got two children with that. So one's going to pick up more or less from the Biju side, which is Himawari. She's going to be like kind of a reincarnation. That's what I think she's going to have. She has a host, but it's a totally new reincarnation of something different. I don't think it's going to be a Kurama coming back. I think it's going to be like her own personal tail beast that she has. That she's been manifesting this whole time, that's just been sleeping. But in terms of Boruto, he's literally more or less the Otsutsuki side, and like, you know, that's why Momoshiki, like, he was able to, I think, use like foresight or something, was able to immediately see that with Boruto, like, oh, I like shit. I'm gonna use it.
I like shit. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna actually address the when Momoshiki gave Boruto karma any more than they already did. They've just had Boruto think about it and say, back then, that must have been when he implanted karma into me. We know that was when he had already been blown up by the Rasengan. That's how they did in the manga. In the anime, it was during the clash, kind of like a Ninshu thing, which just makes more sense to me, but that's besides the point. In the manga, yeah, Momoshiki just like did it after he died.
Realistically,
didn't the anime come first though? The anime came first, right?
The manga had already did what it did first. Then the anime did it, but then in the manga in chapter 65, Boruto referenced the same scene as the manga version rather than the anime version.
No, I'm talking about from the movie though, because didn't the movie
and the anime referenced the anime version.
There was the movie, but in the movie,
Momoshiki was different. I forgot.
Yeah, it's a whole different.
Yeah, there's no karma in the movie. He just dies.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, the first 8 chapters were like the quote unquote redrawing of the thing, but with the new direction of the story. So yeah.
Basically, okay. I think the anime version just makes more sense though, because A, it's before Momoshiki's actually dead, and B, we've seen enough in those Ninshu realms of what people can do. Like, for example, Minato rebuilding the seal on Kurama for Naruto. Like, we've seen enough of what people can do to say, okay, it's reasonable for him to do it there.
Yeah,
but
or
it's
like
not as reasonable for him to do it after he's been obliterated by a Rasengan.
Yeah, or another good example was Hagoromo going back and directly giving Naruto and Sasuke the sun and moon seals.
And that just, Hagoromo was lingering, but because his chakra existed, you could just say Momoshiki's chakra was lingering for a second, but then you have to ask, okay, why doesn't that work for Ishiki? So I like the anime version better than the manga version. I mean, it is what it is, but...
What do you guys think? How do you guys feel about Two Blue Vortex? Like, does that imply anything to you guys, or how do you guys feel about what is Two Blue Vortex? Do you think it implies anything?
I think it was kind of like way back. I don't think the Minato one shot manga came out before Boruto TBV coincidentally. I think the way it was exploring like the whole concept of bringing up vortexes, and then the whole thing with the Uzumaki clan, they were trying to imply something, and then like the whole process that went into the creation of like the Rasengan itself, how Minato had to spin his chakra in like 2 different directions in order to perfect the jutsu. After Jiraiya gave him some pointers basically, and he was saying that when 2 vortexes, I think was the way that the manga worded it, became a spiral, you'll find your answer. And that's how like he created his Rasengan. He created a Rasengan by rotating his chakra in 2 different directions simultaneously. So I think the 2 blue vortexes since the Minato one shot went back to the Uzumaki clan and the whole thing with the Rasengan. I think it might just be Boruto and Himawari because they're both Uzumaki.
That's what I think, yeah. Because the 2 Uzumaki, which is what the vortex would be referencing. And plus, Himawari is actually getting her importance finally. So I think that works.
So there
exactly. So I think like thematically, the title TBV or Two Blue Vortex implies like the thing that will solve the issues or part of solving the issues in TBV will be with Boruto and Himawari working together in some way, or they're something with both of them,
They go opposite ways. They go opposite ways. Yeah. I like that. Let's say, I don't know, and those are vortexes, right? Let's say those are the 2 vortexes, but what makes them blue? Does Himawari have a Jogan?
I was thinking their eyes. I mean, they just have blue eyes.
Yeah, I was thinking it's their eyes.
Yeah, simple as that.
Rasengan's blue.
Yeah, that's fine and all, also, but I think there's something a little bit more into that, like a blue vortex, right? So, yeah, sure they have blue eyes, but they're symbolically they're vortex. So what symbolically is the vortex, right? Does it symbolize like 1/2 of the equation, 2 halves of one equation, right? And I could see this tying back together. It's clear that of course omnipotence cannot be stopped, but I definitely think that there's going to be points of times where Himawari's development kind of will foreshadow, not foreshadow, but it'll coincide with Boruto's development, right? And they'll be able to kind of mirror each other in one aspect, right? To the of course the important plot, or the most pivotal plot, right? I don't know. I feel like it's very interesting. I do like that aspect that, but I feel like there should be more Uzumaki lore, if anything. Like, that would make things, I think, tie a lot of things back together, because we know that the Uzumaki had a lot to do with seals, and that aspect I don't think we truly have grasped as the Boruto community. You said you wanted to see what?
Code, like I want to see like some type of relation between him and the new Uzumakis, and because he being that he had red hair, but like now at this point his hair has turned white, so we can't really
and this put him in is another interesting thing, like Ashura Uza, I think his name was Ashura Uzumaki. He was the one that partnered with the first Hokage to help formulate the leaf, essentially. His hair turned white, or it was white, and all the other Uzumakis
like that. I forgot his name. White hair dude. It's something, I don't know. Yeah. I know who you mean now.
I don't exactly recall the name myself either.
Man, I know who you mean.
White hair dude, the dude with the white hair. That guy, yeah.
Uzumaki man.
That man. You guys know what I'm talking about. That, but there's like all like the Uzumaki basically scattered across the lands, and you've got Karin, you got seemingly Code, and then of course fucking what is his name? Pain. What is his fucking name?
Yahiko, I think Yahiko.
Yahiko.
No, Nagato.
Yeah.
Yahiko.
Yeah, Nagato.
Nagato. Yeah, that's right. Whose hair turned white, you know? And it was during a certain instance where he basically, I think he came back to life. And then he did like I think it was like a gravity jutsu, and his hair turned white. He did some type of jutsu. It might have been another type of jutsu, like but his hair turned white after it. But it looked like he expanded.
Wasn't it the 7th one? The one where he healed everyone.
Rebirth to revive the village. That's when his hair turned white.
And his hair, that was the first time. The second time his hair turned white when he came back to life, when he was reincarnated.
But his hair started white. It turned red when he absorbed B's chakra, though.
That's what it was. And it turned white when it. Thank you for correcting me. When it absorbed Biju chakra, which is interesting because I think at that point in time, we didn't exactly know what was going on, but taking in Biju chakra, we know that of course that is that was Kagura's chakra, or a connection to Kaguya. And so I don't know. I feel like there could be a point in time. Boruto's hair is not white yet, and we don't exactly know how far or how much he's used his Otsutsuki abilities. How has he went into karma mode? Has he really embraced that side? I didn't exactly think he would. If anything, I thought that he would try to stay away or stay as far away as possible. But I think at this point in time, we could see a better proficiency with it. Now that, of course, he's taken that time, which I appreciate, to kind of really master his current abilities, his what's it called, Kekemora and Keketora, to really kind of like highlight some aspects which we really haven't seen all his full extent. We've seen purple lightning, I think. We haven't seen black lightning, which is the stronger affinity to that, which I'm looking forward to. I think that when he does go into karma mode, it'll essentially amp up his ability to do certain abilities like that. But I feel like the more that he uses it, the more aesthetic differences that may occur down the line, which makes sense that he hasn't used it. Why his aesthetic hasn't really changed all too much. But assuming that episode 1 is correct, and there will be a fight like that, unless they're just going to scrap the entire thing, which I don't exactly like.
Yeah, they gotta keep it to like at least 75% the same. They can't just scrap it. Everyone would hate the series for that. wait,
I mean, there's a speculation
that's just lying to your audience in episode 1. Like, yo, this is the pivotal moment that will happen, that it just doesn't. I mean, they kind of did that with Boruto's prophecy. So I mean, I guess it is, you know, a thing for the series, but let's not do it again.
That bait and switch would be crazy.
You guys remember his prophecy by chance?
Oh yeah, I remember the prophecy too well. And Momoshiki, I've got a bone to pick with him. Those blue eyes shall eventually take everything from you. Yeah, that just didn't happen. Like,
I mean, that's why I said that's one of the aspects of Momoshiki.
Ran on this, but so first of all, in the Japanese, he says "Sono aoki no hitome izure kisama kana blah blah blah." He says "sono," which means those in close proximity. He is referencing Boruto. He's not referencing Ada, 10 million miles away, because he would have used the word "ano" instead. Furthermore, he repeatedly reminded Boruto about his blue eyes several times. Chapter 43, chapter 78, you lost one blue eye, okay? So it's supposed to be Boruto. Like, it's clearly a reference to Boruto's blue eyes. Boruto didn't do literally anything in this prophecy. It was Ada activating a jutsu, which they've made it a point to pretty much put all the blame on Kawaki for, meaning it's really Kawaki's doing. None of this adds up to Boruto's blue eyes taking everything from him. And I could go on and on about this for a long time, but it just prophecy was a failure in my opinion. The build was awesome. The execution was terrible.
This may be cope, but I truly believe
I think there's been some aspects.
Like,
I think.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I think it's gonna come because the same going back to what we were saying earlier with Momoshiki and his potential, being that he hasn't shown up yet in Two Blue Vortex, that could be a potential calamity. Like he could be the calamity itself, because I think him showing up, that's one of the worst possible things that can happen. Because Momoshiki in control of Boruto's amped up body, being that it's this strong, that's just crazy.
Yes.
I can't imagine what he could possibly do. Because he's gonna have all of Boruto's sneaky skill sets, and then he's probably been thinking this whole entire time how he can do everything that Boruto has, but even better or different. Just like how he introduced us to the Rasengan, stuff like that. He did some new sneaky stuff with what he figured Boruto and the seventh could do. So just I think it's still yet to come. Call it cope or whatever,
that's
but I think and that literally that's why he said those blue eyes, himself. It's going to be him when he takes over, and it's going to be Boruto that causes the calamity. Because that's what I was thinking the whole time. I was thinking, the typical BS. Boruto is going to be in a fight with.
Did
Sasuke,
he ever say?
Damn.
Did he ever say those blue eyes of yours, or did he say those
some
blue
translations,
eyes?
So to get into a little bit of the Japanese, so some translations do say those blue eyes of yours. The reason why is because in the Japanese it uses the word sono to indicate those in close proximity. So the only person he realistically would be referencing is Boruto. That's why some translations did that. This just says those blue eyes, so he doesn't specify, because in the way they say it in Japanese, they're not saying of yours, but it's the context would indicate it's of yours because it's close by. Just the way they're saying it. So he realistically said of yours, but tactically didn't.
So if that happened in 78, I really think that was like a red herring of some sort. Because because we would expect him saying that so soon, like, okay, definitely next chapter he's gonna lose everything, and it didn't happen. So I think that whole thing is supposed to like distract us for something that's coming into Blue Vortex. We're saving that whole big calamity to come. I don't know. Like I said, it could be me coping and hoping that it.
But then again.
I hope you're right, because I don't like the way what happened. Like what I hope is that Momoshiki kind of jumped the gun with freaking out, thinking that like he may have thought this was gonna be the moment Boruto loses everything, when in reality it wasn't. Like maybe he thought Boruto was gonna do the Boruto lose everything thing, but then it turns out Boruto didn't, and so it's actually going to happen later on. That's what I'm hoping for. My only problem is that after Omnipotence happened, Momoshiki said, "Hey boy, tell me how it feels to lose everything," implying that
was
already lost everything.
Right.
So it's like, okay, like what exactly did Momoshiki foresee?
Like, it could be the fact that Momoshiki sees is not like it's an incomplete future. It could be like futures that are like
it's
very distant or like very close. And this could have been a very, very distant future. Like basically what we saw in the flash forward sequence is probably what he saw. And he was expecting something. I don't know.
I think you're right. You're right. I think you're right, because it's definitely complete, right? And this is why I say like Momoshiki, he's not all there, right? The same it seemed like with Ishiki, right? But when and just to kind of go back to that point, right? You said in close proximity. Who's in close proximity with Boruto? That could imply his sister, right? The other vortex, the other blue vortex.
Close by. It's so Sono it's like a literal close proximity of distance rather than like someone who's close to you. So it wouldn't be.
Is it really though?
In that context, because that doesn't make sense in the way the words.
Are you sure it's literal?
Yeah, like I asked Udi, who studies Japanese.
Is that was the kanji?
Yeah, so he uses when you use sono.
That was a kanji though.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, I'm a little delayed, so if I'm interrupting, it's
You're
probably
fine.
dropped.
But yeah, I've had more than one person tell me this too that knows Japanese, so it wouldn't make sense if he was referring to someone close to you, like in the like I'm close with my parents kind of sense, but like
And
literally
so
like they're nearby right now.
let's take this let's take this another direction, right? Those blue eyes, right? Could that in fact imply those blue eyes should take everything away? So anything that you see, that you trust, I guess, or you perceive is not exactly or is what's going to take everything away from you. Could that be another way? This is another aspect which I thought that could be a way to interpret what Momoshiki was saying. To your perception is going to take everything away from you, because what you perceive is not true. So this could be another way, like a sneaky way. Like this would make a lot of sense if this was coming from Shibai, right? So what is in front of you, what you're seeing, your perception of things, none of it is true. That would make sense for me if that was Shibai actually talking to Momoshiki. And those are some of the context clues which I used, which kind of come back to that conclusion, right? Just like those blue eyes, that perception that what you see is not what you're actually seeing. It's just an illusion. It's just a false truth, right? It's going to take everything away from you. And that may be a mouthful, but I definitely think that mysticism is meant to imply more than just the surface level of things, right? And I think it was like that. It is like that. I feel like things like that have been said throughout literature and anime and manga before, but I just kind of had to kind of go back to that to kind of really understand the mysticism behind that, and that's kind of what I picked up on. I don't know. I feel like it's interesting.
Yeah, my perception of that whole phrasing in that situation more so aligns with you as far as like the blue eyes thing, because I think he was talking about like his perception of things, but through like you were saying, like things aren't what you see it to be, but also because like he's naive in thinking that things are the way that they are, because usually like
And that
with
was exactly his
characters,
character at the
yeah,
moment.
exactly. And usually with characters, like blue eyes are usually synonymous with innocence or like being naive.
Nice,
And
yeah.
I think that's the direction that we're going with that.
That's a really, I've never thought of it in that
that
light.
was a part of
Like
that was
that's very interesting.
that was a huge part of his character development when he was younger, right? And so he could he's those blue eyes, so implying that maybe if he stops using his main eye to see things, right? Like I said, like Boruto had like a natural I think yin affinity in the beginning, which is how I think his Jogan manifested more frequently than it should have, or maybe that may be implied, later down the line. But I definitely think that to kind of help him come around full circle, he needed to develop his yang side, right? Which of course would help escalate his, he would have something to kind of primarily have, and then in times of need, this is a whole like shonen recipe that they take from previous animes, Dragon Ball, and in times of need, he can rely on his previous instincts, right? His Saiyan instincts. No, I'm joking. His gen affinity, so that he can actually, so that when that time comes, he no longer has to. He's essentially come around full circle at that point in time, to where he understands. Okay, I don't have to rely on just my strengths. Now I can rely on my gifts as well, and I can can actually better manifest that because I'm more balanced. So I definitely think that the whole Naruto aspect of things is that these characters have to remain balanced in their thing in their lives and in their when they're doing when they're manifesting chakra, right? When they're doing certain abilities, they have balance is a key aspect to that equation. And so yeah, I definitely think that that later down the line, like that is probably going to be a similar instance which we see may occur a little faster within Himawari. I think we'll see maybe we know that she had a stronger yin affinity. She essentially was able to kind of tackle like knock out Naruto for 24 hours. And so this training that she's doing, has she been practicing over the last 3 years? And who's she been practicing with? Team 10, right? They have like a strong yin affinity, don't they? Do they not? Like with Shadow Clone Jutsu? Not Shadow Clone Jutsu,
Shadow
Paralysis
Possession.
Jutsu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shadow
Shadow Paralysis would be
fucking
yin, Mind Transfer would be yin, but Expansion would be yang.
Thank you. Yeah. So Expansion is more of disregard that. That's not a point. But essentially, how they even what's the guy that draws pictures? I'm forgetting his name.
Inojin.
Size son.
Inojin.
Yeah, him.
Inojin. Yeah, he would have a strong yin affinity as well, right? Because in order to draw those pictures, he needs a yin affinity, if I'm not mistaken. And so I don't know. I could be completely left field with this, but I definitely feel like it's interesting that team was chosen for her development. Because I think at this point in time, we really are not looking too deeply into it, but it's very interesting. We should pay attention to it because they serve a specific aspect as to her into her character development. And to make her character more balanced so that it seems more natural when she actually does do something. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I can agree with that. And Himawari, I feel like she's a hidden gem in which, like, just like how we saw in glimpses of Naruto Shippuden, where, like, for example, Naruto versus Orochimaru, we're going to see a similar case here. I think we're going to need some type of well, here's the thing. The big... Yeah. Seeing how we got the reveal of the stage, the Four Tails Naruto. I think in this case we're going to see like probably a stage 1, but a different, unique version, being that this is a new manifestation of a Bichu. I feel like we're going to see that, but and the catalyst, of course, is going to be that of Kaoki, being that she believes that. She's conflicted, obviously, because she knows that there's good in the quote unquote Kawaki or / Boruto that's out there, which is her true brother. But being that she's seeing her brother actually now in the village get her ass kicked, she's definitely gonna use that as fuel to emotionally trigger her power, her hidden power. So we're gonna probably see that. I think that's gonna be the two key elements in defeating and getting rid of Jura and Hidari in the next 2 chapters.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on like that emotional aspect, because like this whole thing going into Two Blue Vortex, like the vibes that I get off of this reminds me like a whole lot of like Dragon Ball and Cell Saga, because we had the two siblings that they're supposed to be creations or androids or whatever from like some kind of scientist. So you got Amato being your Dr. Gero, and you got Ada and Damon. We got the androids, and then we got Jura, who's seemingly like he's like a culmination of different characters, kind of thing, sort of like Cell. And then they're doing the whole parasitic thing where they're taking the chakra, of different people, sort of like how Cell was absorbing like the different people before he was achieving his perfect state, kind of trying to level up, kind of thing. And we see like Jura and the Shinju, they all have a different person that they want to eat to level up. And then we have Himawari, who has supposedly, like some kind of hidden power, hidden potential that we don't know about, and it straight up gives me like Gohan vibes. So I really agree with you on like that emotional awakening.
I'm gonna
like,
finish.
I see a lot of that.
I'm gonna finish that point because I think that Jira, just because I'm glad you said that, because at this point in time, I think it's completely possible Jira leaves and lets her develop to get stronger, and then tries to come back and eat her once she's developed. Because I think there's something that we have to see, right? But I definitely think that's going to help Boruto get Boruto to come back to the village to protect her, because it's going to be an immediate threat.
Yo,
that Himawari.
I'm sorry, but that would mean that he would possibly change his target, right?
Temporarily,
but I mean, if you know, that being said, that would give what's his name more of a protector role. But I don't know. He was supposed to be Sarada's protector in a way. Like he was supposed to be projected to match up against what's his name, Hidari. But it could be the opposite, where we might see a matchup between Kawaki's protector for what's his name, Naruto. Maybe what's your name? Oh my goodness, Himawari. Guys, no, Himawari herself. Like she might actually be the one that protects. You know, because I think that her hidden power is definitely stronger than what we're seeing from Kawaki. You know, Kawaki at this point, you know, he has potential, but he hasn't been able to utilize that potential simply because his battle senses are not dull. You know, from not. I don't think he's been doing what he was supposed to be doing the whole time. You know, at least not as well as he was when he was with Negan.
So you think that she'll protect who?
She'll protect like the actual Naruto, like the actual target. If Jura finds out that she's not, you know, I don't know, because we're not sure if he's gonna really switch his target. If he switches his target, you know, then that means then shit, Kawaki's got to protect her in a way. But
then she'll have to know that Kawaki. But Kawaki.
That's why I think it's going to be an indirect protection because of the emotional trigger, seeing that Kawaki is getting his ass beat. So yeah, that's.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess maybe she may be more protective of Kawaki, but then I feel like she would have to know that Kawaki has Naruto in order to protect Naruto, and even that, we would have to assume that Jura knows that. I mean, it'd be assumed that Jura knows that Kawaki has Naruto, or not actually prior to this. Sorry, I'm forgetting that Jura now thinks that Naruto is Himawari, and so Jura knows nothing about Kawaki, which was my previous theory that Jura possibly knows that Kawaki Naruto is in Kawaki, so he has no direct connection, at least at the moment that we know of Kawaki. He essentially, I think, you know, no, I don't know. At the moment, Kawaki may have to feel the need to get stronger to protect Himawari, but I don't know. I don't think there's anything that's been laid out yet that really kind of lays that out for us, right? To say, but I definitely feel like it's more likely that Jura leaves to go somewhere else to start. You know, accumulating people, absorbing people, and possibly getting smarter in the process. I think that when more people get absorbed, that they could essentially, as the primary ego, consume the alter ego or alter egos in the end, which would essentially create. How so?
Potentially containing too many egos in one body. You know, it depends on how many egos, because it could be a case that he what's the word, absorbs, you know, irrelevant egos, and, you know, having those try to conflict and battle and try to take control of the main egos, stuff like that. I don't know, it could be me thinking way too deep into that, but I'm just seeing if they choose to write it, they could write that type of conflict.
It's pretty clear that Jura is. I mean, like,
I'm saying,
it
like, you
seems
know how
pretty
they
clear that
choose their
Jura
targets?
has
Like,
the
they're probably going to attempt to take their targets now. See, dang, I can't get my target, so I'm going to need to get stronger. And their ways of getting stronger is by absorbing, chakra-related targets. So they could, up until they're ready to get, take on their targets again a second time, they can absorb other chakra, beings, whether it be shinobi or people in other villages, and get stronger by that means. But what I'm saying is, when they absorb others, they're taking in those egos too, depending on how they're absorbed. So being if they, if they take on too many egos within one particular body.
I don't know if they'll be consuming egos. They may just consume the chakra. And in the process, maybe consume like a lesser version of the ego, because it seems like there are dominant egos or dominant presences which have basically formulated as egos. And so I think like everything that comes after this point is just going to enhance the current ego. So I think that might be the case, and I think it's pretty out of the four.
I would
I
hope
think
that's
that
the case, honestly.
the strongest ego is Jura, and so I think it's very possible that as the most dominant ego, that he could basically daisy chain the rest and kind of consume their egos as well. But there may be, like you said, there may be some type of back that may be like it may serve in the wrong way, to where like he basically has he is basically conflicted between egos. But I don't know. It's the tin tails. It is primarily tin tails. At the moment, we see like it's formulated into like a being. So I think there's ossification presence within that process, which is why I think that Code, of course, his genetics, his karma has affected this, and that presence within that karma has manifested into its own type of creation, unique to any other primary Otsutsuki. It was just dormant. Like they call it a dud. Like they'll call volcanoes dormant. It doesn't mean that they don't work again. They'll work at some point in time. They're not completely, they're not completely like going to like stop working. They're going to come back at a later time, right? So I don't know. I think it's all very interesting. Chapter 8. I don't know. What are your thoughts? What are your just general thoughts on Chapter 8? Like, how did you feel about it, Komoy? I know I've kind of. What did you? Yeah. How do you feel about all? How do you feel about what I just mentioned? First off.
So, in regards to the like ego thing as they devour people, I think that while there can be changes to their personalities, it needs to be like a progression. It can't be like Hidari, let's just say, eats Chocho, and then like he just like it have to be like mainly Hidari with Chocho elements, or he just evolves further in some new way. You can't have him like because if Hidari eats like 50 people, you can't just have him be like have 50 different like characteristics. It's just too much, and you're gonna lose sight of who the character of Hidari is, because rather than growing and experiencing the character is just constantly changing to such a weird extent. So they can't do that. It would have to be like subtle progressions.
Yeah, that would be. I agree. That would be a weird dilemma if they were like, multiple personalities. As people had like, bipolar.
Imagine Hidari Sasuke.
It would be funny to have like a little bit of a multiple personality disorder, but like it has to be within reason, and it has to be one that just works in a nice way that's not annoying or confusing. So like, I mean, if Jura gets like, or even Hidari, let's just say he has like a Rock Lee. He eats Rock Lee. And so he goes back and forth between Sasuke's personality to Rock Lee's very charismatic personality or something. Like you could do something with it where it would be hilarious. But honestly, to some extent, I would like that, because
He's already
the Divine
goofy.
Trees have been the funniest characters in Two Blue Vortex so far, just with their nonchalant, quirky personalities. Which Hidari's just going around like, is this Naruto Uzumaki? Is that Naruto
Exactly.
Uzumaki? And Jura's over here like, don't you dare destroy this bookstore.
I think that's Naruto Uzumaki.
And it's just like, it's very silly, and which I like. So you could play into it, but like, it also needs to serve the story too. It can't just be a humor thing. So while Rock Lee would be hilarious, and I could let it, especially Mike Guy would be even funnier. I could let it slide for the humor, but it should realistically serve the story's purpose for that character to be devoured. And unfortunately, nobody's targeting Rock Lee, so that's very unlikely. And Rock Lee being targeted, it's not going to serve the story. Metal Lee doesn't even exist barely. He's in one freaking panel of the manga.
Coping, man. Oh my goodness!
You know, like,
I wish these characters had relevance.
It's weird because you just mentioned like all like the primary guys that should be like there in the village right fucking now, and they're nowhere to be seen, and I don't want them to show up. I do not. And the thing is, because I swear, if I see Kakashi or Guy, like, is either going to get Guy's gonna have to go into a gate, and I don't think that's like it's like worthy. It's worthy. You know, there has to be some build up, you know, and even that, like we've seen, yeah, or Rock Lee going to the 8 gates. I feel like it should be worthy. Like they got to build up to that, and even that, like, you know, there has. I don't think it's worth it. Like they have to be somewhere. I feel like what should happen, and I don't care. Make one chapter where you just fuck up the entire village, kill everyone. I don't care. Kill everyone that is the main cast of Naruto. Rock like do a pain and just fucking fuck the whole village, right? Up, fuck it up. That's what I meant. Algorithm. So yeah, when it pertains to like I feel like that should be done, and I don't want to see them. I don't really want to see them again. I don't think they serve a purpose in this current point in time. I don't think they can. That's the problem. You know, and they should have been killed prior to the time skip. I think that's a mistake, and that's going to be something I think that they're possibly saving so that they have wiggle room to kind of spread out the chapters going forward, so they can kind of think about storyboarding a little bit more for the next few weeks or next week or whatever. But I honestly, like, you know, I want to see some insight. Some things I want to see some insight into Kawaki's mindset, like his development last 3 years. There is those things I feel like should have been the first few chapters, and then like this is fine, but I feel like there should have been more chapters in between. Like we really should have seen. Now we have to go back to the time skip. To, you know, there has to be a chapter, and they may apply this to the anime, right? To where, you know, the anime has a way of, like, you know, spreading things out, so like the chapters you'll kind of skip things, and I feel like that's something that is crippling to the Boruto Naruto community, where they'll skip things and they'll let the anime cover that, and people will say there's different continuities. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I feel like that's very disingenuous. That, you know, that they do. Like, it's fine, but I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on the chapter? What do you guys feel about the chapter? I don't think I've asked either of you guys.
Manga. Like, if it's actually important to the story, it should be in the manga. If it's not, that's fine. It would just be filler, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It fills in the gaps. That's what filler is. But if it's integral to the story being good, it needs to be in there. Some things aren't needed, but some things that's like, nah, bro, like you can't just like skip over important character development. Like, for example, the Mitsuki and Ada conversation in this chapter needed to be in the manga. Like, if that was an anime only thing, that would be just dog shit. It's like, that's too important of a character moment for them to just skip. That's why I don't really like the whole,
Are you
don't like
referring
the
to
whole,
like
we're gonna call it anime canon thing. I'm like, bro, like I mean it is canon, that's fine, but like it should really just half the shit should just be in the manga in the first place, or if not, don't make it like just make it actual filler versus like this weird in between thing where you know it might be important but it's not actually. It's like I don't know, just make it one or the other.
So this is one of those chapters which I really would have liked to see. You know, they're in the bookstore like having fun. It would have been funny to see like a weird like troll face from like Jura or Hidari, like some weird like type of face, because this was one of those chapters where it's like really, you know, some
We should
people
have seen what's in the
but
bookstore. Like
it
we should
wasn't
have seen
really.
the
It
clerk,
didn't feel
like
serious.
the librarian,
Like we expect.
like
Yeah, that too. Like I feel like there was so much perspective that was left out. Like he walked in and he just started. He looked at like a bookstore that was empty. You know, like, you know, did these people get alerted? Did they die prior? Like, what was their backstory? I want to know. And this is something that I think is common in shonen, and they kind of get away with it because it's a shonen. But there's a lot of shonen that highlighted stuff like this. So, you know, come on. You know, you want to be the big bad, a big popular manga, and a One Piece, Bleach, Naruto competitor. Come on, you know. You have all of Naruto's continuity to go off of. I actually, and sorry, I'm a side note. I'm a tangent on a tangent really quick, but I definitely think that it's very interesting, and I thought this would be a possibility, but I think it's very interesting how Sasuke was the one to train Boruto, and toward the end of Naruto, what happened? What was Sasuke's prior goal toward the end of the war arc? It was a revolution, right? And so if it was a revolution, did Boruto know about that revolution? Is this are these one of the things that are going to be highlighted when we go back over the Boruto and Sasuke dialogue? Is Sasuke going to talk about his revolution? And is that going to be is that the reason why Boruto's character is the way it is now? Not entirely, but in part, right? And is that what's going to help him face things head on when it pertains to Kawaki, right? How Kawaki at this point in time may attempt to try to revolutionize the village, in hopes that, you know, and I think this is a part of his character that hasn't completely changed, because it seems that his character has made almost a 180 flip. But I think there's some aspect to his character which really hasn't, which we're not seeing, his internal dialogue. And as you stated earlier, Kamoy, there has to be some type of moment where, you know, causes that reaction to happen. And this could be a part of that process, how the village is destroyed. And in the process of that village being destroyed, Jura leaves because he wants Himawari to get stronger. Now we kind of have an idea, because the stronger the vessel, the more he develops, right? He's very sophisticated. I think is very well in his character to make that happen. And if he leaves after, I mean, but it wouldn't make sense for him to destroy the village at that point in time either, I guess, unless he takes Himawari. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there at this point. Again, this is my head canon, but you know, or maybe censor somewhere else, and waits for her to develop, and at that point, he could destroy the village temporarily. or just kill a large majority of people, and Kawaki would have a reason to kind of revolutionize. These 2 points aren't entirely fitting, but I feel like both possibilities are entirely possible. But I'm gonna come back. That was my tangent. I'm gonna come back to you guys. What are your thoughts?
I mean, like when it comes to Jura leaving, I think part of that just depends on the lead up to it, because they're gonna hear him say, "Where's Naruto?" Like they're gonna ask, and when they do, someone like Damon said in chapter 6, I think, people are gonna question it, and I think if Kawaki's awake to hear it, at least his reaction will be telling, because I don't see Kawaki as the type of guy who's going to put on the best poker face. I can see him getting sweaty, looking flustered, frustrated, like maybe even learning out, like, what do you want with him or something, and basically giving himself away somehow. It's going to raise questions.
Yeah.
And if that happens, I could see Jura just focusing on his actual target of Naruto instead of Himawari, because Himawari is probably not going to die, right? If she's going to die, it's probably not going to be now. So it could be a thing where Himawari kind of just like,
you think Himawari's going to die?
She becomes OP, and then he switches to Naruto. I don't know. Or he might just kind of just leave, or maybe Damon steps in. I mean, there's a lot of ways that could prevent Himawari from getting devoured. But I think in this situation, they should bring up what Damon foreshadowed about people catching on to Naruto being alive. That should come up, or at least raise the question. I think that would be very important because it fits in line with the theme of the arc, Boruto gaining favor, Kawaki losing favor. So that fits in line with everything, at least for this current arc. So that's what I think is probably best. So Jura might leave. He might fight a little bit. The thing is, Bug and Moegi didn't show up, so it's not a full-scale invasion. And realistically, Bug's target's Ada, so I could see Damon fighting Bug because he's going to protect Ada, versus Jura, he would have to do it to protect Himawari, which, I mean, it could be interesting if Bug goes after Ada the moment Damon leaves. That could actually work too. But I definitely think Damon should fight one of these Shinju guys, anyone but Hidar, either Bug or Jura. And honestly, I think he should fight Bug, because Damon should win. Whether he kills them or not, he should win the fight. And if he beats Jura, that's almost just like a letdown for the rest of them. So I think Bug's the best one for him to fight.
I think at this point in time, I don't think we know the relativity. Like, you know, Boruto's essentially jumped like when he was fighting them, right? But when it for fucking what's the brother's name? It's just said it. Not Ada, Damon, right? No, but between the relativity between Damon and Jura, right? We'd assume at this point in time, I don't know. I feel like they have some type of hidden knowledge, but I also think that Damon, there's something that they haven't aged, so they're obviously androids. You know, or cyborgs. They could be cyborgs as well. I think cyborgs age, don't they? Yeah, so they'd have to be androids.
Well, they are cyborgs. Like they are canonically cyborgs, but you'd have to assume it's related to Shibai, the specific power they got, being why they're not aging, because Shibai is freaking god. So sure, it has some interesting effects.
Yeah, quite possibly. I don't know. I feel like it's open. It's open for discussion, and it's open because it's just something open that's out there that the author has really. I don't know if they'll come back to it, but
I mean, my feel like it's interesting. Ada seems like she's grown up and had love taken. Like the Ada should have a backstory in relation to her desire for love, and if Amado just like created her out of the blue, I don't think she would even have the thought, oh, Amado robbed me of ordinary love. Like she wouldn't even know. Like Mitsuki, she wouldn't even know about it. So she seems like she was just a regular human.
That's a good point.
Modified her with Shibai's powers, and this is the result. Now, for all we know, Ada and Damon have just remained stagnant in age ever since they were modified. Because at first I would have assumed that they were basically when they were in those pods in Boruto's hideout, they weren't aging there because they were stored away. But based off this time skip, it's possible that they've just like Ada's just been 16 for the last 10 years. Like that just might be what it is for them, which is weird. Still, it's not an Atsuki thing in general because Boruto and Kawaki clearly got older, so it would be a Shibai thing. Wow, weird regardless, but they might have just never aged since.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that aren't really fully finished, like unfinished puzzle pieces out there. That's they did it intentionally.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna say they did a lot of it intentionally, but will they be able to come around with it full circle? My whole point is, will they be able to bring it back full circle? Like, will they even remember how to tie all these things back together? I think one part of that piece could be the Uzumaki, the backstory to the Uzumaki, which would give insight as to the future goals of the two Uzumaki that are pivotal to the story, Himawari and Boruto, and their primary focus or goal or possible end results. And as well as the Uzumaki around and Amato. There's a lot of puzzle pieces. Jira, I think his end result's going to be basically becoming complete. I mean, I don't really see all the other ones becoming complete. Sasuke or Hidari, sorry. I think it's going to be interesting that aspect of him being consumed into Hidari. I'm starting to Jira. When that time does arrive, but I don't see him being a primary character in the end. I think he's just going to serve as some type of character development, of course, for Sarada, and quite possibly her abilities, if she hasn't already developed them already, her abilities to kind of help mitigate the effects of omnipotence, which I do think that Sarada will be the primary person to do that, since it's been such a heartache for her over the last 3 years, and she is the one set to be the next Hokage. I think it would make sense for her to be the one that not only changed the village but changed the world, and of course she would be a great replacement for Naruto. For Sarada, for Shikamaru, I feel like he'll basically write something or do something, and he may have been doing this already, because I think it's implied that he's been through this several points in times where he's forgotten through Sarada, but he's come back to a state of disbelief, and it gets stronger as time continues. So he may have been leaving points in times like little bread pieces, so that when he comes back to it, he can do something else to help progress it before his mind state kind of regresses back to its previous mind state. I don't know. Final thoughts, ratings. Did I leave something out? I could have left a lot of stuff out that I'm not sure about. I know Breezy has some thoughts. I know Sai has some thoughts. I don't wanna end things quite too early. I don't know how everyone's doing on time, so I don't know. What are your thoughts? Any final thoughts or anything?
I'll start off with this. In terms of ratings, this was a dialogue focused chapter. Wasn't too much reveal heavy. It was more or less characters reflecting character development, which is really great. That's always a plus. So overall, I would give it about, I would say about a 6.57 out of 10. My favorite chapter so far, I haven't even stated this yet. So far, out of all the chapters in Two Blue Vortex, has been chapter 4. Just from the reveals from that chapter, and I don't know. That was just my favorite chapter. It had me sweating.
Chapter 4 is the best moment in.
Which one? Remind us of that one.
Exactly. That was the one with the reveal of the 10 tails when they manifested their egos. the worst. It's probably the worst possible future. So that's my favorite chapter so far.
Yeah, it's hard for me to like to do solid hard line ratings. But if I had to do a rating, maybe a 6. Like I felt like Sai was saying, it's a very dialogue heavy chapter. Not too much happened in the beginning, but it's nice to get some character development for some of the characters. Like just seeing what's going on with Mitsuki and Ada. We kind of get that external dialogue for them. So that was nice to see. And then I'm glad to see that they're actually going somewhere and they didn't abandon the plot line with Himawari having some kind of hidden power. So we're finally going to get to see what that is in the cliffhanger. So that's nice. So yeah, I'd say around there, like 6 out of 10-ish.
That's the most exciting part of the chapter, honestly.
Yeah,
Reveal. And that, in my opinion, is going to be the reason why the next chapter will. I think the next chapter is going to probably. It might be a contender for chapter 4, in my opinion. It just depends. Like, it always depends on the direction and how they go about it. Like for Kawaki, for example, the kick we were discussing yesterday, that little small change that would have been really dope is the juror kicking Kawaki as he's tiny. That would have been like, oh shoot, he can actually see him as he's small. Like, oh man, that's crazy. But instead, it was just a simple slap and kick. Like, okay, come on. I mean, granted, he didn't like
or him
punch him all the way across, but it's like there's so many little ways they can make these tiny little fight sequences just a slightly smidge better. Just
right.
Well, I don't know. Just it could be the fact that Ikimoto doesn't feel like doing all, or it's not even that he doesn't feel like it. It's probably that he just can't do all that complex drawing, or it doesn't have the creative. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. Kishimoto's way better. Like, you ain't gonna.
When it comes to doing creative stuff, yeah. When it comes to
Kishimoto's art is just straight up better. like Ikimoto can make some really good character designs. Beyond that, I think Kishimoto is just better in every single way, and Kishimoto's come up with plenty good designs himself. So I
agree.
Like,
I think they should rehire the people that made the other, the adaptations of the light novels. They should hire those two as helpers. If they hire them, that could not only add an additional 20 pages, but on top of that, it can either add 20 pages to the monthly chapter, or we can make this bi-weekly and do like 30 pages every 2 weeks. I would love that. And but 30 pages of better.
This was also the shortest chapter, wasn't it?
The guy who did Sasuke Retsun, I just straight up think just has more Kishimoto-like art style, and it's just better than Ikimoto's. But the 100%. Crazy thing though is some of Ikimoto's work for some novels, and for example, like the Sumire arc or like the Mist Village arc, are based on, like, novels, and Ikimoto's got some god level art for those novels, and I don't understand where that went.
Right.
Did you read? Like, wait, what? I've seen some of his art. I'm like, bro, where is this shit?
Right. Like, I forgot the artist that drew this one, but did you read the Kakashi Twin Squirrel one, or the one that adapted Kakashi Resident?
The Mirai one?
Yeah, the Mirai one.
Yeah, dude, that art's better too.
Exactly. Like, the art was so good in that one by comparison.
Yeah, I don't exactly.
Do I need to explain why the Minato manga art was better?
No, yeah.
We get the point.
There's a clear difference. I don't understand. Yeah.
Bro,
I'm glad you guys brought that up. That is very important to consider. Like, why isn't there
a chance for a new artist? I don't know why.
Yeah. They could do something different. Like, they could hire like a really good. I don't know. They're planning on going back with studio period. I don't exactly know, but I don't know. Those are really good points. What do you guys have any like predictions? I almost forgot.
Yeah, for when they're coming back.
So like, no, like future what the future chapters will hold.
I mean, I think yeah, I'll let you go.
Yeah, I think we're going to see something with Kawaki. Like, I think after what happened to Kawaki this chapter, like he's gonna have to in his head start making some major decisions because the whole thing with him this whole time was that he was going to defend the village against the Otsutsuki, and he's been anticipating this the whole time, and then like when the divine tree showed up, like he just pretty much got pushed out of the way kind of thing.
Mollywop.
So yeah, mollywop is an understatement. So I think like next chapter we're going to see him start definitely making some decisions. The villagers, and we kind of talked about it, like they might start questioning like what's going on with Naruto if they hear Jura bring up like where's Naruto. So I think we're going to see some of that. A lot of pressure on Kawaki's end definitely because the villagers are going to be questioning what's going on with Naruto, and then on top of that, he's not able to push them back on his own currently. So there's that. So a lot of pressure on him. And then Himawari with that, I don't know. Like obviously they're going to do something with her having her Biju or whatever is going on with her. But I don't know if they're going to end up just tussling with Himawari for a little bit and then just coming back to come get her later, like we were saying. Like that's a possibility. They might, since they need Boruto and Kawaki as a sacrifice. I can see a situation where they kidnap Himawari, and then that will force Boruto or Kawaki to come to them so that they can keep them to the divine tree. I can see that happening. But yeah, I don't know. Just throwing a couple things out there.
How do you guys feel
it's
about?
Just a little weird, like Biju chakra. I'm sorry, I'm really ignore my part. Like I just completely had an out loud thought.
No, you're good. I was gonna say, there's two things really. What do you guys think about Ino and like what she's going to do potentially in the future? She's going to be a problem to Shikamaru and his, what he's trying to do with Boruto. And also being that Shikamaru, is trying to work with Boruto, do you think he's going to start, forming a secret mission with those that, like with the likes of, Mitsuki and Sarada or whatever, trying to get them to partner and work with Boruto on the outside or whatever? But those would be the most likely people they can get to cooperate with him, especially obviously Sarada, but, Mitsuki being that he directly, he had that one-on-one confrontation that he needed. And I think that was enough. Boruto saying, come, I welcome you whenever you need to. I don't think, all these little statements, I don't think they're just stated for, no reason. I think that's a sign that eventually Boruto and Mitsuki are going to work together again. I think we're going to see Team 7 again, and I think this is going to be how it's going to happen. People like Shikamaru doing some type of secret mission between them two or something.
I think before Mitsuki and Shikamaru talk, I think just like Ada wants to have a talk with Boruto, I think they should cash in on Mitsuki actually going to talk to Boruto, like Boruto said, come visit me anytime. I think they should actually have Mitsuki do that. So that way, rather than them fighting, just seeing them interact in a non-combative manner, at least if they're fighting, not against each other, and just seeing how Mitsuki views Boruto, like does he truly comes to terms with it? Does he start to want to actually support Boruto? Stuff like that should come, and then you could have like an underground thing with Shikamaru. I don't think Ino will go against Shikamaru. She might question things, but it's in her character to trust Shikamaru's judgment. So I can't imagine her betraying Shikamaru. I can't imagine her actually doing that.
I asked that because
she should be in on it.
In that panel, like right before she was able to give her assurance to Shikamaru, they were cut off, with their intruders. So like, I don't know. I think that was also done on purpose as well, because she's been iffy the whole time. She's been on Shikamaru's ass. So I don't know. I just think she's someone to like actually keep an eye on. But we shall see. I think she may either accidentally slip up by not being too cautious for Shikamaru's sake, or
accidentally slipping up. But I don't think she would intentionally throw Shikamaru under the bus because, again, she does, even if she questions it, she does trust Shikamaru's judgment, and she would never backstab him. There's no way.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Omnipotence was specifically for Ino to do that. It wouldn't happen. So it would have to be an accident, if anything.
Damn, that's something. Oof. I just hope it's not too crazy, like some like something that a shinobi shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to be like throw everyone
hey,
out.
Choji, by the way, did you know that Shikamaru thinks he's doing this secret underground mission to get rid of Kawaki? That's crazy.
I think I want to harp on two things before we go. I think it's very, very interesting that it seems like there's 2 points that are going to be colliding, right? One of them, of course, is the risk factor of Of course, the other is the risk factor of Jira in the village, with the possibility of finding out that Naruto is being held captive by Kawaki. And I'm gonna highlight a third, Amato, right, which is aware that his creation is now Kawaki, and so he may try to do something to prevent that out loud, and that may be observed. But this ultimately, I think, is going to come down to the village's awareness that Naruto is actually alive, which is a big part, and maybe the result of Kawaki's full character coming around full circle. And him instead of trying to abandon the village entirely, him trying to change it for the better, right? As he stated previously, right? The village isn't strong. He is going to do this by himself, but he's that was prior to the time skip. Now his character development, I think, is going to shift more toward him trying to revolutionize the village as one unit and against the Otsutsuki. The other point that I'll talk about to finish this podcast if you're watching, I appreciate you guys for stopping by. If you haven't stopped by this time and you stop by at a later time, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. But the other point I'm going to highlight is Mitsuki, right? I definitely think that if anyone is going to be able to overcome the effects of omnipotence, it's going to be Mitsuki. And I think this is quite possibly going to be done through his Sage mode, how he's using the Sage mode and his character, right? Him, of course, if he does, and I think Sai Sensei pointed this out, if he does go toward Boruto, his son, I definitely think that there's going to be some type of something that's going to manifest out of that. That's going to essentially put Mitsuki in the place, a pivotal role to basically not only change it for himself, but be the main person to help overturn the effect of omnipotence in the end, whether that's through sacrifice or whatever. But I definitely feel like it's the cards have been laid out for us, and I could be the only one, but that I feel like this is all very interesting. I want to give you a round of applause. Kamoy, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
No, it was great having you, man. It was great having you. Definitely a great host.
Yeah, we got lucky that I ended up getting called off work, because otherwise I was like, I don't know what day we're gonna do. But
yeah, and we were trying to
but it worked out.
Figure out if we were doing Boruto, if we were doing another podcast. I was still trying to figure that out. It did work out. Thank you. Hey, I appreciate you stopping by. Man. We got to do this more often. I don't know. Maybe we could stop. You could stop by on a non-Boruto specific podcast. I don't know.
Hey, if you guys want to do a JJK, Attack on Titan, Hunter x Hunter, or Death Note one,
we got some more things cooking up. We do. And I'm gonna shout you out, of course, on the Discord. So I mean, you'll know whenever we just kind of send out some shit. But hey, you have just before you go, you're over on we're still calling it the Walkie Talkie Podcast with Udi?
Well, for the moment it's the Walkie Talkie Podcast still, but it might be changed to the #1 hyperactive knucklehead podcast.
That's almost a direct rip off of Naruto, but I like it.
I mean,
I like it a lot
though.
We're gonna need an acronym for that for sure.
N1 or just the hashtag 1 H A. Or no, I guess you could just do all H K P. I don't like that either. Super confusing. The #1 HKP.
And for those that
It sounds like some heads code for color.
It does a little bit, yeah.
It does.
For those of you, because we're not we're on the new channel now, but for those of you that aren't, we're not entirely Boruto specific. We talk about a lot of different types of things, and pertaining to anime and many pop culture aspects and underground aspects, but pretty fiction and whatever, but gaming, etc. But for those of the people that are out there that aren't completely aware of Kamui, he does a lot of Naruto Boruto content. Where can the audience find you? Do you want to list out some of the platforms where they can find you?
Yeah, there's a lot of things I have. Well, there's obviously my channel, Kamui. At this point, I think you can just search Kamui and I might show up now. Let me just test this real quick. I think in the past that
you gotta type Kamui Boruto, or if you type in Kamui, I think something else populates. You gotta get your algorithm up there.
Okay, all right. So Kamui Boruto. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that'll make me pop up to the top. So search Kamui Boruto and I'll show up. I also have a Discord.
I looked up Kamui Boruto, and all I'm seeing is Bar B. Is that Kamui?
Drop it in chat.
Talking about some anime. This is funny. Bar B's a funny guy.
But
talk about drop it in the the chat so they have it, or if you're open to it. If not, what's your Discord?
I'm gonna post in chat a bunch of things. That is my Discord, and then I guess I'll look up my channel.
Oh, wrong chat, but
Oh well, okay, hold on. Which chat?
If it's private Discord, it's private Discord. I'm not gonna throw you out there.
Right,
I think if you just throw it in the comment section, that might work.
Yeah. All right, one step at a time.
Yeah, we'll get to you guys. But I don't know. I feel like this chapter was it was definitely some type of setup chapter. It was interesting, like they're not going out of their way to make, put a bunch of questions out there, which I like. I didn't leave with like how I have typically been leaving, with more questions than answers, which is good. I know like we're still in the early stages of Two Blue Vortex, but someone's alarm went off at the perfect time.
Yeah, I know my alarm went off.
That was perfect. No, it was perfect. I like it. We'll keep it in there.
That's where we'll end the podcast in real time. And then cut off.
I know. I was like, I caught that early.
Right. You should have let it play. I would have let it play it.
Oh God, you know.
But no, seriously,
a long period of time. Let me tell you, that'll be too much for you.
I have sleep apnea, so I already wake up like fighting shit. And it wouldn't work out. It wouldn't work out. I would break my phone that day.
Oh no.
So yeah, I think when it for this chapter, right? I want to say it was a stepping up. It was a chapter. Wasn't anything too special. There were some aspects that I liked. Himawari, I just hope they don't give her BG mode. That's my only hope for Boruto. It can end any kind of way. Just do not give her BG mode. Give her a Tensei, give her a Jogan.
Something
I'd rather
unique to
it be
her.
related to her eyes, like her lock-on mode, than like a literal V1 or V2 Jinchuriki cloak. Like, relate it to her, the power we've already been introduced to in the anime. Don't,
right?
Because otherwise, then we're still gonna be wondering what the hell is this stupid lock-on mode about? Like, so related to that.
I also hope she has like a purple, yellow, or light bluish aura to her, whatever type of power she has. Like it could be even a Tensei gun too, like some type of like something like that.
So this is why I say like I want her to have the other Jogan, because it would make sense if there were two halves, like Boruto and Himawari, it would make sense if like one highlighted like the yin aspects of that, and the other highlighted like the yang aspects. Like one was like genjutsu based, and the other was like I don't know, more like techniques, right? Like physical techniques, like you could basically hit something and like manipulate it that way, or traverse your body in different ways. That could be Boruto, and the other could be, Himura could have like more of the, I don't know, the physical techniques. I don't know, Boruto's already kind of he could kind of maneuver fast, so that maybe give that to Himura. I don't know, but yeah,
good kind of maneuver fast. That
Rate,
man got flying thunder god.
Yeah, I mean that alone, just with Karma on top and Karma V2 in the horn mode. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be crazy.
I'm just thinking, just imagine the Rasengan barrage that he's gonna do.
Oh no,
like teleportation, like a universal, like. I don't know. The possibilities are endless, but it's up to the,
I already know. I feel like there's going to be some type of Resendans, like some type of like, yeah, like use the moves that I've already like. They're going to use different type of Resendans for Boruto. I think like that's going to be his move. I think along with the Rizuhiko, and he's going to be able to traverse things that way.
I kind of want Rasengan to be Momoshiki's thing, whereas Uzuhiko's Boruto's, because Rasengan just better for Momoshiki. I feel like just fits him perfectly.
I can't disagree with that. I can't. I really like. I feel like it'd be interesting if both of them were just aware. Like they will be. And I feel like if both of them were able to do things, but like one person had primary control over that point in time, the other one kind of had a little bit of control, and it can kind of like twitch a arm, or use an ability, but just only for a second, like Momoshiki. But I'm waiting for Momoshiki to pop up. I feel like that'll be an interesting time, but it just doesn't seem like unless they stay in the village, and then because the other two Shinju ego clones they could pop up at any second. Just because they're not in the village doesn't mean they can't just traverse through Jura or Hidari. They have the claw marks on them. I think we might forget that, but yeah, it's ultimately it's interesting. It could go down next chapter. It could not. I am more leaning toward the possibility of them not doing it now, just because there's only two of them, and it seems like Juro is trying to scope out the village just to I don't know. I'm giving this chapter I give it a 6 out of 10. Flat 6 out of 10. That's my rating. On Twitter, you don't want to go check out my Twitter because I rated it very low on that. But on YouTube here, I'll rate it 6 out of 10, and we'll call it good.
I'm curious about the Twitter rating now.
You gotta check it out. I can't tell you. You gotta check it out. but again,
you can call these uncensored ratings.
Uncensored. No, these would be the censored ratings.
Yeah. My rating on Twitter was. That was my rating. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah,
I was my rating.
You gotta use that more. I'm not gonna lie.
But again, thank you so much, Kamoy. Thanks for joining us. Anytime, and you want to kick it on Discord, watch some watch parties or whatever, we gotta join. Maybe we'll join. Yeah, we gotta join your Discord, and just hang out over there too. See what you guys are up to. Maybe scope out the scene a little bit. I don't know.
I forgot to link my podcast Discord, but I'm in there a lot too.
Oh yeah, slide that in too.
Oh, so you have 2 Discords?
Yeah. Yeah, like realistically,
just drop in the chat. It'll probably be a little bit easier if you.
Yeah, hold on. Let me
Where
go
was that?
real quick. I'm upstairs making some food right now. I told you I was gonna do that.
Oh, he's walkie talkies.
Exactly,
oh my
bro.
god!
I also cookie while I talk. Yeah,
yeah.
Like as Discord. and link that. Oh, by the way, I just posted all of these in your staff text at the Discord because I didn't know where else to put it.
Okay.
Oh,
fine.
Dope. Heck yeah.
I was gonna put it.
We got you. We got you, Kamore. I appreciate it. This has been the Sync Zone podcast here, and I hope you guys have had a great time. Make sure to check out our future videos. We're not quite too sure if we'll drop another video today, but make sure to stay tuned, subscribe, hit the noti bell, and we'll see you next time, travelers. Peace.
Peace.